agenda, and then we will move into public hearing. We start with a public hearing for PB 25-6, which is 10 Converse Place or 33 Mount Vernon, depending on what you want to call it. Technically, it's 10 Converse still. We have a fair amount of other business after that, including the FY27 budget, which is due. Appointment to the DRC. We have a discussion of lodging taxes in Winchester. We have some board and staff updates. We have minutes, and we have adjournment. So with that, I would like a motion to move into public hearing for PB 25-6.
So moved.
Second.
And we will do a roll call. I'll start over there. Nick?
Present.
John? Present. Gary?
Present.
Jack?
I thought we were supposed to say yes.
I know, I was just kind of going with the flow
yes.
here, but I think we can
yes.
see we're present.
Whatever. I'm here.
Here? Aye. Do I get an
Are
aye?
we voting? Aye.
Chair votes aye. So we are in public hearing for special permit PB 25-6. And the way I'm hoping to run this tonight is a little bit different than we've been doing it. I have a prepared statement I want to read. I'm going to go around the board and let other members speak if they have anything they'd like to say. Then I will invite the applicants up to respond or address anything that we have said. We can have a discussion with them. From there, I'll move on to ask them to go back and sit down, move on to public comment. I'm going to ask that we start with anyone who has not spoken during this extended public hearing and then move on to others, but I'd like to give priority to speak first to people who have not spoken during this public hearing yet, which has been going on for several months now. And then we will move back to discussion and decide if we want to move forward with anything tonight. So I would like to read a prepared statement I have made. Before us, we have a special permit for a unique property in town. This site represents the only privately owned parcel on the Mill Pond. What we decide here will potentially determine whether the public has access to the open space on this property or is excluded. If done right, this project could provide a diversity of housing at various sizes and price points, both affordable and market rate. New commercial space, including waterfront dining and a public park-like amenity. I envision indoor-outdoor dining along the waterfront, tables and benches adjacent to the bike trail, and a revitalized mill pond. This is where you would stroll on a summer night after dinner, or where you might take your kids to learn to bike on the bike path while you sit on the grass, or where you would eat ice cream on a Saturday afternoon. In the packet are 6 digital model images I requested from Haseen of various locations from the open space at the site looking toward the mill pond, alongside photos from the same angles, the best I could take. These show the potential views we could see from the publicly accessible open space if we secure that for the residents of this town. In order to make this possible, we need to decide whether to allow the project as proposed and what restrictions or requests are needed. The proposed building is large, and we must decide whether the project is worthy of a special permit to exceed 40 feet and an FAR of 1.5. Furthermore, we must decide whether the project satisfies the PUD in order to exceed 48 feet and an FAR of 2.5. I will ask the board to consider waivers for both of these tonight and accept a motion if you choose to do so. To that end, I'm requesting the following of urban spaces. These represent requests by me that I believe would be in the best interest of the town, and I hope the board agrees. They're asking for a lot, 29 feet of extra height, and 1.3 FAR above what's allowed by right. First, it's my opinion that the building must have 35 units rather than 34, with 4 deeded affordable at 80% AMI and acceptable to the EOHLC for inclusion in our SHI, and with 2 deeded affordable units at 120% AMI level and comparable to the others above. Town will not look favorably upon us for allowing this height for the minimum number of affordable units, which actually causes us to fall behind on our SHI. This is not an affordable housing project, but it is an important component of any project in the CBD. 2, it's my opinion that prior to the issuing of the building permit, but subsequent to a special permit, if approval of the board, if approved by the board, a subcommittee of the board or designees should meet with Urban Spaces or their designees to review the building materials, especially as they relate to the 5th and 6th floor. Mutually agreeable colors, materials could be finalized at this point. 3, it's my opinion that we must have language in the HOA documents or elsewhere securing public access to the majority of the open space for the mutual enjoyment of building residents and the public. The limits of public and private access should be clearly delineated and mutually agreed upon with a map prior to issuance of a special permit. 4, it's my opinion that benches, tables, and other similar amenities should be situated in the publicly accessible areas along the bike path and maintained along with the open space by the HOA. 5, it's my opinion there should be use restrictions of the commercial space along the Mill Pond as opposed to the space on Mount Vernon Street to an eat-in eating establishment or cafe, which includes outdoor dining space for the establishment. And lastly, it's my opinion that as the only private property adjacent to the Mill Pond, an annual payment should be made in perpetuity by the HOA to the Conservation Commission for upkeep and restoration of the Mill Pond in an amount mutually agreed upon prior to the issuance of a special permit. All of these would need to be reviewed by Town Council, of course, to make sure that we effectuate what is intended. And none of these requests should suggest that typical and customary conditions not also be imposed should a special permit be approved. Nor do these suggest that any other members may not have their own suggestions and requests that we will have to deliberate on. These represent the extraordinary requests matching the extraordinary asks by the developer over what is allowed by right. And I believe convert this project from a private development on a private land to a collaboration for mutual benefit of both. We have this chance to secure land for public use while also adding 35 needed units to the town center. So I just wanted to say those words, and before I welcome the applicants to the table, I'd like to give everybody on the board a chance to address the board if they have anything they'd like to say as a follow-on or on their own. So,
No, I support what you said. It makes a lot of sense.
Nick, do you have anything you'd like to state?
I don't see how I can support it. I think it's just too big. I mean, I don't see it. We're giving them from 40 to 70 feet from one affordable unit. I just don't see it. And the roof is going to be horrendous that high. I mean, it's going to be so visible.
Fair. Carrie, Jack?
I mean, we've all spent an unbelievable amount of time thinking about this project. I think there is a lot in this proposal that was not in the last proposal, and I think that has been really encouraging to see. I think the criteria of the Wetlands Protection Act is finally well synchronized, and the recognition of its placement on the waterway is a good progress in the right direction. I think in terms of making sure that that space remains a handshake, because this is a very high use public space. I mean, this is a center area for town events and for quite a bit of foot traffic, and hopefully more if we put a commercial space that interacts with the public on that space. I think a handshake agreement would involve also allowing a conservation easement on the property, so that would create some obligation on the town side to do work if needed to maintain the green space adjacent to the waterway over time if needed, and send a strong message to an HOA that was allowable, because I think in 20, 30 years, I mean, if we look at the composition of the town, I think we can all feel sure that the HOA will have attorneys on it. So I think the possibility of an HOA agreement getting renegotiated over time is decent, and I think the stronger the protection for the waterway, the better we can ensure our promises to the town. I think the aesthetics of this design are a high standard, and I think that's nice in terms of thinking about what we would expect as other buildings changed over time in the CBD. We sort of expect our flagship buildings to be reference points for future changes in the downtown, and I think this sets a nice aesthetic. The diversity of units, I was grateful for the extra time that we've had, especially timed with town meeting. I've talked to a lot of people about this at this point. I've heard both sides. I've heard that the town definitely needs affordable housing and that that's something that we need to keep pursuing. And I've heard that there are not many options for folks who want more high-end options for either moving into town or for downsizing. And so these are a good size unit, a good mix of those units. I think a lot of the points that we are contemplating are points that would come up in the special permitting process. So we're sort of trusting that the answers that we're going to get when the applicant comes to the table are things that we will codify in the special permit process. And that's important to keep in mind because we can't do that, right? We're going to get through this step, which is deciding whether or not this project meets the PUD criteria, and the bylaw is frustratingly vague in that area. So I also spent some time speaking with past planning board members who fall on predictably a couple sides of the aisle there. The intention of this parcel is to welcome density, and it's a tricky spot for affordable housing because it's narrow, so it has to be tall and it has to be a certain quality level, and that makes it a more expensive project, and that is I think a dilemma that I have sat with for quite a while. I don't know if it's the right moral moment to move away from choosing affordable housing in this location. And I think that the call for higher end density, does it have to be met at this parcel? And then there's the question of just simply the decisions we have to make tonight, the height and the FAR. And we were handed a bylaw without a cap, and that I find very frustrating. And not to be the Scalia of the group, but I went back to the founding mothers of this bylaw and did my best to sort of go back to the room where that decision was made and understand why there was not a number that was put on there. I again heard a variety of opinions, but in general, it seems like no one contemplated this height. It seems like no one thought it would get ever and ever taller. I will say, with a little bit of chastisement, that I think that's partly because no one was thinking about the Wetlands Protection Act. But and the FAR of 3, if you build on the full parcel, is not this tall. And I think that the intention was to give developers room to add 3 or 4 feet if they needed to, accommodate the mixed-use space and have some give. But I don't know if the intention was to go quite this high. And whatever the intention there, and whatever we decide, this will be permanent for the town. I will say the one unifying thing that we have in common as an entire town is everyone hates the laundry building. that is the common foe against which we all unite. We will eternally have our names on this project. So if we allow 69 feet of a building, and people sort of got there by, well, it's better than the laundry building, it's 3 condos, and it's longer than it is now. So this is a really tricky parcel. It's a really important one for the town. I'll be curious to hear the answers to tonight, but I am not. I think the decision needs to be made on whether or not we feel like the height and the FAR are appropriate for the downtown of Winchester, because the things that we're asking for are promises that would be fulfilled in the next step, and those answers could change after we get past this one.
Thank you.
Well, I will be brief because I think you spoke very well for the way I feel about it too. I mean, what Brian said aligns with my desires as well. I've said it many times, as everybody else has, is that the building's too tall, but there are trade-offs. And I think that you've put your finger on the right kinds of trade-offs. And as I've also said many times, I shudder to contemplate what we get if we don't approve this. And I won't go on, I won't repeat all that again, but and what you said is true, Brian, and I also concur with much of what Carrie said. Some of the misgivings I have, but I think approving this is something, yes, we will live with, and have our names on it, but it's something I can live with.
Thank you. Any other additional comments or statement by the board before we invite the applicant up to address?
Oh, are we gonna, we have some, I'd like to hear more from the community.
I'm going to as well.
Okay, I mean.
I asked specific
Okay.
questions, asks of them. I
Okay.
did. I don't know if
All
anybody
right,
else
well,
asked.
Maybe you can use your little timer. That would be helpful. Okay.
Well,
I'm not sure that the
Let's hear from
applicant should be
Yeah, let's hear from
timed.
the applicant.
we're asking a bunch of questions. We can't insist that.
Yeah.
We keep
okay.
asking
I mean,
questions.
we keep getting the same answer. Why don't we just focus on the questions, I think. Okay.
I
yeah.
requested, I just now, and it was also in the packet, had 6 things I requested of them. I don't know if anybody else has additional requests that they think will allow them to make a decision on voting. And if there's something that you think that you need to hear from them to be able to vote yea or nay on both of those waivers, please ask it now so that they can address it. And if there's nothing you need to ask further, I'm not trying to force you to vote either way. I'm just if there's something you're waiting, you're crawling inside of you, I wish I knew the answer to this, or I wish they would do this, now's the chance to have them come up and respond to it.
No, I just feel, I think we need to hear from them, obviously, to get the answers to the questions. But we have heard the story, the overall story, we've heard the story every single time. So I just want to be sensitive to that as well.
Fair. We don't need to go back over what happened 2 months ago. So, fair point. Sort of address what's changed and what we've specifically asked of, what I specifically asked of them, and hopefully they can address those points. So, so we're all in agreement. If you guys would like to come on up and. Paul, if you would state your name.
Good evening. I'm not Mr. Sexton. I'm Paul Onyebane from Urban Spaces. We're delighted to be here again tonight. We come very much appreciating the dilemma that you have and trying to be very sensitive to ensuring that we balance as much as we can your objectives and concerns with the realities of the project. So we are asking for 7 additional feet, a 69-foot building versus what's there today, 62 feet. We do appreciate it's going to be much more beautiful than what's there today, the laundry building. And we also recognize the constraints that have now been resolved related to the Conservation Commission and the wetlands requirements. So over the last year or so, we have skinnied up the building significantly, 30, 40 feet, I think, off the top of my head, in width, thus creating a beautiful open green space, which creates an opportunity that was never there before. And we want to be responsive, point by point, to the concerns that the chair has mentioned and others have reiterated. But that we don't look at that open space lightly. We appreciate that that's one of the most important components to make that community use as much as we can in order to balance the objectives here that we've heard. We also would like to just note that we now have a 21-year history of trying to balance community needs and development realities. And we very much appreciate the opportunity to be part of Winchester. The building, if approved, is going to be beautiful. It's going to be very high-end, well-designed. Every detail is thought out. As a company, we have kind of a cultural value that if we wouldn't want to live there and we wouldn't want to have our names on it and be proud of what we do, then we don't want to be part of it. Of course, your names are on it too, and we want to make you feel proud as well. So with that sort of preamble, I'd like to go through the concepts that the chair has raised regarding affordable units. So Section 6.2 of the CBD housing rules is a little vague. We've come to the conclusion in discussions with Taylor and with others. And we've interpreted initially that the first 25 units would require 10% affordable units. Rounded up, that's 80% AMI units. And then every unit thereafter, if it was a 34-unit building, that would be 9 units, would require 5% be affordable at the 120% AMI level. In this case, 0.45 rounded to 0. So we would have 3 affordable or deed-restricted units. At the time, we discussed that we would be amenable to the board's potential request to see this through, adding 1 more deed-restricted unit. We would have liked to have proposed that to be a 120% AMI unit. So thus, we would have provided 4 affordable or deed-restricted units. It became apparent at the last meeting that we might have been doing the calculations differently, unfortunately. Again, a vagary in the, no malintent on anyone's part, but just a vagary in the interpretation of 6.2. We had our zoning attorney look at it. She came up with the same way we did. So, but nevertheless, the point is the board, via the chair, rules. And so it's been asked that section 6.2, however it works out, obligate us to have 6 affordable units, not 3. That's a significant jump for us. As we've talked about, the subsidy is large, the difference between market value and the pricing that we would be getting for a deed-restricted unit, whether it's 80% or a little better at 120% AMI. But knowing how important it is and the trade-offs that we're all making, we know the sacrifices you all are making to consider this height. We would like to consider making the concession, if it was, we would see it, or agreeing with the request to have 6 deed-restricted units. So we'd be amenable to that. And it does require some study. We need to kind of understand the architectural and other impacts that this deed restriction increase would have, going from 3 to 6, a big jump. But we think we can do it, and we think we'll take the time, if we were granted the waiver tonight and then you decided that we would go in 2 weeks, 4 weeks from now, whatever it is, to approve or to vote on the special permit approval or not, we would get our ducks in a row with a more robust housing plan with more details about where the 6 units would go, what we would like to propose, how many would be 80% AMI, how many would be 120% AMI, and we can bridge the gap, hopefully. But we understand it's important. It's a big sacrifice, from us, because we're in the development business, but it's a big sacrifice from the planning board because you're in the community serving business. So hopefully we can strike the right balance together on that issue. So we're committed to achieving the board's, or at least the chair's request. The second item that the chair laid out in his description was that we would want to discuss materiality. So we would need to come up with mutual agreeable colors and materials, especially for the 5th and 6th floor, certain design elements that we might be able to improve, putting a little more mansard in it, and so on. We've talked about those. As you said, we won't rehash tonight, but that's not the goal. But the goal is to let you know that we're committed to that exploration, and we will not be able to move forward unless you're satisfied, you and the staff that we'll be working together with to ensure that the materials in 5th and 6th floor in particular, with that subcommittee, that everything is acceptable. We have explored some ideas that was mentioned. Why don't we look at changing the color from sort of green copper color to maybe brown copper color? That's more in keeping with today's oxidization rules of thumb anyway. So we can do all that over, if we are advanced from where we are today to next meeting and beyond. Another item that's really kind of goes back to the green space that we talked about is language in the HOA securing the public access to the majority of the open space. We're committed to that. It used to be all building, and now we have an opportunity to make it beautiful for the community. It's a community space, we understand that, and it's along the waterfront and the roadway, or the bike path, I guess. And we basically, we want to fit in. Then really our incentives are aligned, because if it's beautiful for the town at large, it's also beautiful for the residents of the building. Everybody wins. So it's a really interesting idea. We came in thinking that we would tie this handshake agreement to the condo documents, so it would live beyond us. But I really think Carrie's idea, let's call it a springing easement. If we're not doing our job maintaining, well, then the town could step in and maintain, if that's what you were driving at. So we could certainly accommodate something like that. It's our job to do it, but you'll have the safety net to know you can if we don't. Usually it goes the other way around. I have an easement on my property for a rain garden from the town, and they're supposed to maintain it. They don't, so I do. But we'll hopefully, 99 years from now, we'll be doing our job, even though none of us will be here. But there'll always be that safety net that the municipality, the town, can do it if we don't, but we will. So, by the way, that just to spend a little more time on it, we talked about different ways to accomplish this, and legally, as anyone who knows the laws, there's licenses, there's HOA rules and regulations. Those aren't strong enough. If we're trying to collaborate to come to, a fair solution, those aren't strong enough. But the condo documents and the springing easement certainly, I think, would be. We have a lot of experience. 21 years in doing things like this. We have 99-year ground leases with the Archdiocese of Boston, who has many rules and regulations different. They're more related to rules and regulations of the church teachings. Let's say you can't have uses that conflict with them. We have other 99-year ground leases where we have private landowners that don't want to see certain things happen. We have buildings that we own with office tenants above that want the retail to be restricted. Because they don't want a cannabis shop or an adult bookstore or something horrible like cropping up. So that moves into kind of the next point, which is we will be willing to restrict the retail uses to those that are compatible with the spirit of what we're doing together, which is activating the green space for commercial use and community use. So that leads to how do we sort of look at the site plan? And we sort of thought, well, maybe we can divide the site uses into kind of 3 silos. So there's building residents, especially along the east side of the building. The residents are going to need access to their units. They're not going to want to have people hanging out in front of the door. So there's sort of a residential zone. Then, of course, there's on the south side of the building, there'll be kind of a commercial zone. Hopefully, it'll be a cafe. I mean, I think that's a great use, and if I were a tenant, I think I'd want to be here. I'd want to be in this space. It's just going to be incredible, and there'll be spillover, ideally, into the green space and overlooking the bike path and the pond beyond. But then everything else is really going to be. We're committed to making it, and I've been, I think, since the beginning, community space, community green space for public enjoyment. So the chair noted that, what if the retail space, what if we can get a little more rent for renting it to a real estate agent who doesn't have this spillover and activation of the space? That's not what we're looking for. So what we thought is sort of like a yin and yang, where whatever isn't residential or commercial, and we'll put it on a map and we'll attach it to the special permit decision, and that's enforceable forever. We will make it so it's community use, so that's kind of another safety valve. So if there's no spillover for some reason, let's say nobody wants to rent this space, I can't imagine that's the case, and we're not banking on that. We're in the rental business or sale business. We think it's great space. But if no one picks it up, then we would sort of move that to community use. So always it's going to be divided between building, residents, retail, or commercial patrons, and community at large. And we think we luckily have a lot of experience on the complexity scale. This may sound, not to a developer, but to the common knowledge, this may sound complex, but on a scale of 1 to 10, this is like a 2. We can definitely handle this legally. We have great and expensive lawyers to work on this. So that really covers most of those points. The last point was the idea of a payment in perpetuity to maintain the land. Well, or the conservation land, the town land. So this is where we had a little bit of a difference of opinion. I know it was brought up at one of the Conservation Commission meetings that we should, provide such a payment. At the time, we were understanding that one of the other commission members decided that that really wouldn't be an appropriate thing to do because it felt like a quid pro quo. We can't have the approval process tied to a form of payment. So that was sort of off the table. It's come back a little bit on the table, maybe in a different form. Less about an approval process from Concom and more of a requirement from Planning Board. We would respectfully ask to reconsider that because we tried all that. We went to town meeting. It was rejected that we get involved on town land. Now, we're being asked to get involved on town land again. We don't mind it going the other way if the town wants to get involved in our land, if we don't do our job, which we will, the springing commitment. But we would prefer to sort of not go the other way. And at some point we kind of have to say uncle, and that's where we were hoping we could make this significant commitment to affordable units, significant commitment to commercial use restrictions, and perhaps as importantly, significant restriction on private property to make it community use. So in doing all those things, we're still very excited about the project. We have 21 years of doing what we say. We would not commit to something if we couldn't deliver. I don't think there's one example where we haven't delivered on what we've said. We've not once been unsuccessful in permitting a project because hopefully, you'll see, we know how to give and take and not dig ourselves bright lines. We want to make this work. We want to give you the information you need and the community benefit you need to approve the project. And of course, we want to be a beautiful addition to the streetscape someday.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for your comments. They're appreciated, and I wanted to just make that apparent.
Does anybody have any questions about what we were discussing now, which it sounds like? Yes.
I do have a follow-up question. The accommodation that you're willing to make for the affordable units will obviously be a different financial picture than you made your original proposal with. And so I have two questions. One is, I forgot to mention earlier, but what are some common accommodations that you would normally make in the design of a building when the finances change at the outset? So what would we expect to change about the design going forward to accommodate the change in potential revenue?
So one of the things we might do is shrink the unit sizes a bit and increase the unit count. Oftentimes in our business, the price per square foot that you can achieve is greater on smaller units. When you start to build bigger living rooms or dining rooms, or bedrooms, the overall dollar amount goes up, but the price per square foot, the unit price, goes down. So it goes to follow. We did a project on the Boston University campus. We became the westernmost edge of their campus because they master leased the building from us, and that was 350 square foot micro units. The absolute dollars for rent were pretty affordable. That's why people liked it. People could live there for a relatively low cost, live alone. But the trade-off is it's a small unit. And so from our perspective, we were able to balance the price per square foot just the same, but we made them smaller. So that's kind of what we would think to do here. So we kind of took a look at that, and we would, we wouldn't, go crazy, with the number of units, but we might go from perhaps the 35 now that's being proposed with that extra affordable to max, I think we said 42 or 44, in the range that we've always been kind of talking about. And so we would look at that together. But of course, that wouldn't have to be decided tonight. We could perhaps, if you felt comfortable, we would love to know that we're approved, of course, after tonight, and then we can go to work and really get into the architecturals, because that's where the energy and effort just ramps up significantly when we start to really, put our arms around how many units, 6 affordables, where are they going to go? It might have a ripple effect on the Mount Vernon retail and bike room. We might need to shrink those up a touch to squeeze in a unit that could be market rate or affordable. They'll be evenly distributed throughout the project. So those are the kind of things. But what wouldn't be sacrificed or changed in any way, the aesthetics would not be sacrificed, and the building volume would not be changed. It'd just be kind of what we're doing with the blocks inside.
And what's the parking wall, Nate? Does anybody know off the top of their head?
We now believe, with some torturing, that we can fit about 36 parking spaces now. So we wouldn't be exactly 1 for 1. In the scenario where we went more than 36, obviously, if we said 36 or below, we would. There's, something would have to give on that front too, which we can really explore for the next session if we advance to that.
Mm-hmm. The other question that I had it's probably percolated to you, although I don't remember if we've talked about it in a public hearing yet, is the fact that the building currently houses the cell phone towers in town. And I'm the planning board representative to the state of the town, and so it's come up in discussions, how can we maximize our municipal revenue, and the cell phone towers are one thing that came up because it's significant revenue. They will need to be relocated during the construction of the building. Is there a willingness on your part to part with them? Because I know that would have to be a complicated administrative nightmare to organize, but I think there would have to be, I think you would be one of the parties to it, if we relocated them to a municipal building, or if we arranged a fee structure where there would be a cost share or a revenue sharing with the town from that set of services. And if you're not willing to relocate them, I just want to call to everyone's attention that we will be approving the height of the building with the aesthetic that we're seeing, but also with cell towers on top of it.
Right. So we've actually been able to make contact finally with the 3 tenants that are there. They have long-term leases, so we can't break those in most circumstances, not without ramifications. And so what we are obliged to do is to sort of relocate them and keep them with constant operation. Mm-hmm. And we can do that on site with some temporary equipment that they provide. And our understanding is that these things are done all the time, and it would be routine. We would be working through those issues together with the town. But then when we're finished, we'd put them back on the building. And they're an important source of revenue, obviously for us too. But they'll generate tax revenue for the town, not direct revenue, because obviously we're the landlord and we would maintain that landlord-tenant relationship. But the value that they provide, I don't know if there's any financial sharing with the town currently, but really it's just probably usage. It's a very important hub for these that keep the cell phone service in the town active, and we would make sure it stays active. But we would retain ownership of those. That's part of our pro forma. We would also be very sensitive to making it look much better than it is today. Obviously, it can't really get worse, but we understand that. But we'll make sure it's good, hidden as much as we can. The new technology today, a lot of what's on the building today isn't even operating. It's just old legacy stuff.
It's like dish TV.
Right. Yeah. So we'll make sure it looks as use state-of-the-art technology. It looks great. We have to pay for that ourselves to keep these. That's our tenant obligation. As the landlord, we have that obligation to our tenants. And we want to make the building look great, so we'll minimize the impact on that.
And then my last point of clarification is whether you're committing to the number 6 units in some proportion of workforce and affordable housing, or whether you're committing to calculating the way that Brian requested.
Well, the former, in the sense, well, maybe they're both right. We're committed to calculating 6 units like Brian did.
Okay.
And in a configuration of workforce and let's call it 120% AMI and 80% AMI we'd like that to be the compromise where we can propose that. And so instead of 3 units, all at 80% AMI, we'll do 6, but we'd like them to be 3 at 80% AMI and 3 at 120% AMI. That's where we thought we could have a compromise. You get the number of units you want, we get the little bump in revenue, which isn't obviously nearly enough to offset the actual cost.
Right. I think my point of clarification was that previously, while now you're mentioning that the unit count may rise, previously you had mentioned that it could be true that units wanted to merge and the unit count could go down. And so if the unit count goes down, are we relying on the calculation or are we codifying the number of units?
That's a fair point. They could go down, people could combine, but we'll commit to 6.
Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Regardless, so if you wind up with 32 units, you're still gonna have 6.
Yes,
Okay,
we
good.
will, we will.
And if you wind up with 42, we'll have 6.
We'll have 6. Yes. We will go between, I think the next breaking point is at 44, if I can recall correctly. So we will make sure, it's a weird kind of circumstance that this one extra unit we were talking about sort of bounced us into another tier. It doesn't really matter because we're doing more than's required anyway. But we will do between, it sounds like now, 35 and I guess 44 units, and we'll guarantee 6 deed restricted units. We'd like to propose that 3 be at 80% AMI, a 1, a 2, and a 3. That's kind of an even split. And then the other 3 workforce units, which are 120% AMI, those don't have the same regulatory requirements. They don't count, I don't think, toward the town's
Subsidized housing inventory.
Yes, SHI. Okay. You have maybe more flexibility there, which is why we would like to propose, ideally, right, we do 3 1-bedrooms because they're the highest value that we can get per square foot, and do them at 120% AMI. There's not a lot of value there, right? I think a 120% AMI unit is maybe in the $300-some thousand range, which is a significant discount. It doesn't even cover the cost to build. And it's maybe not even close, really. There's a significant discount. And what the other way to look at that, there's a significant value add to the families that need them and to the town for providing them. So you're extracting significant value for community members that really, could use the help. So.
One question about materials. At the demonstration that Hassan put on for us last week, we got into a discussion afterwards, Dylan and David and I and whoever was, all the stragglers were still there, with regard to the material on the 6th floor. And they said it would be in your court to make the decision, but it could be copper up there, right? And that it would tarnish to a brown look. I know because I have copper gutters on my house, and I know what that color is, and I think it would be much better than this green. As I said, they couldn't speak on your behalf, but is that something that you could see?
We could see the brown metal color. The copper, though, is like 5x what metal panel is. It's just cost prohibitive. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you're Mass General Museum on Charles Street in Boston, they do copper, real copper, and it'll oxidate in maybe 5-10 years. It's still quite shiny, orange, penny color right now. But it's really in a residential building like this, and if we were an institution like Mass General or Harvard, I think we could, but it doesn't pencil in this. So
I understand.
But we'll make it look, if it's brown, it'll be brown instead of green.
But yeah, my concern was expressed earlier when we were talking about this green, this look that we had, that there were some concerns about how long it would weather, how well it would weather, and what the color would look like 5, 10, 15 years down the road. If it's brown, we're still facing the same concerns?
I would have to defer to our architectural team. Is the color today the color tomorrow? Does it? Pretty much, right?
These are, the technology.
Come on up so that the WinCam can hear you as well.
Thank you, David.
David Tepenkin from Hassan. So the technology with UV protected, powder coated metal panel would be
Powder coating,
the expectation that it would be sustained over time. What we've talked about is there's a lot of painted materials now that more approximate a living material in that there's some variegation to the color. So it's a little more lively, it's a little more, varied surface than just a painted metal color that you might see, on a car dealership or something, right? And those materials are similar in price, but certainly more stable than copper or some other live material.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
yeah.
Thank you. Are there additional follow-up questions for Paul about any of the things that anybody brought up here? So I have.
I did like
go ahead.
the reference to looking at the design and looking at the roof and possibly a mansard flavor. And do appreciate all the additional insights you brought in today.
So I have two questions, since they were follow-up of questions I asked you. The first question is, I had suggested, and I don't know if the board thinks is a good idea or not, to use restrict the one storefront to a restaurant or cafe. And I know we spoke earlier, and you just spoke now, about limiting to non-allowed uses. Are you open to restricting to specific uses as opposed to not allowing, as opposed to the negative of saying you can't do this, saying you can only do this selection of things, which I'm advised by town council is something that we can ask for and you can agree to put in a special permit. But are you open to that, or is that a non-starter? Just so I understand.
Are you talking about the cafe?
Yes. Or cafe or restaurant or something. I just want to know.
Restaurant, yeah.
The
If
commercial space.
the commercial space, because the reason I ask is I can think of a large number of different uses that would not activate that area. Realty, a law office, a nail salon, an architectural studio. I could think of a whole bunch. And so it seems like instead of saying excluding certain things, it would be a lot easier to say, these are the things that are allowed there. Because I'm sure somebody can come up with something. I have, a refrigeration repair, shop, something I can't even think of. It may not be allowed there. You know what I mean? But are you open to limiting to being specific uses, or you? Because what I heard was excluding certain uses, not limiting to certain uses.
So the reason we like the exclusion approach is, and we have direct experience here where we have an office building with a significant tenant who went through and said what can't be allowed. And that's been very useful because there are things, and the flip side is that you don't think of. So what if we say only these things can do, and then along comes a community theater, a Pilates studio, someone that will definitely activate the outdoor space, and it may be in a different way than we thought of, but we didn't include them in our list. Now we can't have them. So it cuts both ways, and I certainly appreciate it. The way you're talking about it also cuts that way. What if we forgot to say X use, and now all of a sudden that's the use? So maybe what we could do, and this is where we've been successful doing it in other ways, is almost write it more like a constitution, right, where there's principles involved. So we could say, the space needs to be contemplated to be activated during the warm weather months for various reasons. We'll have to come up with the exact language to do it, but we would prefer to work the negative because odds are we're going to capture most of the concerns, and there's certainly a spirit to it as well. That if we miss it, I know you can't guarantee that. Where we're involved, we can, but later on we can't. But it's much easier because we're going to miss something, and then we're going to have an opportunity, and we're going to be hamstrung in. So we would prefer to restrict it that way. Okay. But also the safety valve is what we talked about, the yin and the yang. If let's just pretend the real estate use wasn't restricted for some reason, and that's what comes in, and they don't use the outdoor space, and that's not what we all wanted. Well, at least we can then agree that any of that adjacent space that was going to be used by the commercial is now going to be community space. One way or another, it's going to be community access, community at large, or patron.
Okay.
Hopefully that works.
Okay, no, I hear you. I want to know, I want to, the second question is in regard to the sixth thing I mentioned, which was some sort of payment from the homeowners association to the Conservation Commission, or that might not be the right way, the right vehicle. I might be having the wrong vehicle. It might be going into some sort of conservation trust that gets set up in town for maintenance of the waterfront. I just want to understand that that's a non-starter on your end, because I just want to understand what you're saying, so that we don't sit around and say, oh, hey, we could still tell them that we really want this. And if it's a non-starter, just like I tell the board, if the height's a non-starter, just tell them it's a non-starter.
Right.
If that's a non-starter, tell us it's a non-starter, so we don't have to debate it and decide that,
Right. It's difficult for us to say no, because we want to we want to be good neighbors. We want to do what you want us to do. There are limits, of course, and we're talking about those now a little bit. I mean, if we could make a nominal contribution to show goodwill, we could do something. We just don't want it to get sort of carried away where we're suddenly asking for a very large contribution every year. We'd maybe prefer like a one-time contribution. Maybe, I don't know, the money that seemed meaningful when we were talking last time to get some repairs done around and clean up the area. Was I don't remember, $5,000-$10,000. Something as a goodwill gesture more than anything, because we don't want to say no, but we also can't tie this into $100,000 a year forever. That just doesn't work.
okay,
Some compromise, hopefully.
thank you. Anything else for the applicant? So no, I'm going to move on. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your response to all of our questions and proposals, I would say. So, thank you.
Thank you for your consideration.
So with that, I would like to move to public comment. Can I ask someone on the board to time for me?
Sure.
Anyone? Otherwise, I get distracted looking at the. So with that, I'm going to open up to public comment. I would like to give priority, although I'm not going to stop anybody from speaking, to anybody who has not spoken during this continued public hearing. So if you would like to speak now regarding this this application, raise your hand. What I'll have you do is come up to when I recognize you, come up to the table, state your name and address for the committee, have up to 3, and sign in, yes. That's for our minutes. And then have up to 3 minutes to speak. So I'm going to start and just see, is anybody who has not spoken who wants to speak tonight, not spoken during the public hearing?
And please be nice, we work so hard on these projects.
Okay, so I see a couple of you have not spoken, so gentleman in the front, if you'd come up, and then I'll get, and like I said, I'm not going to limit the other people, I just want to give priority to people who haven't had their voices heard yet.
Do you want me to sign in?
Yes, but you can do that, yeah.
My name's Don Sesage. I live on Mystic Valley Parkway, 193.
Thank you.
Right up the street, short walking distance from.
We're neighbors,
Yeah.
hey.
Yeah, before neighbors, walk by this, ride my bike by this, I ride on the bike trail, I go by this, and I agree with you, it is the ugliest building in town, and we certainly don't want to see another building like that be built. And I agree with where the gentleman that was speaking there is that I'm sure you guys are quite confident in designing buildings and getting them permitted and everything, but I do have to agree with several of the very qualified people that have been following this project in the past and have opposed building a taller building, and I would just like to express my opinion that I would be opposed. I do not recommend that you approve the height of 69 feet of the building as it not being appropriate for the town. We have to live with it forever, or for a long time, probably 50 years before it could be replaced again in the future. So I would be opposed to approving the height of 69 feet for the building.
Thank you very much.
45 seconds.
The standard has been set, folks.
Okay, again, like I said, I'm going to go to people who have already spoken during the public hearing, but for now, people who have not spoken during the public hearing, okay, I'll take you in white, and then this gentleman back on the left afterwards. Thank
Hi,
you.
everyone. I'm Amy Bellavo. I live at 19 Wedgemere Avenue. First, I just want to thank you guys for your long process in reviewing this project. I have only lived in Winchester since 2021, but I've actually been coming up here for more than half of my life. I'm sad to admit that watching my cousins play Winchester sports. They grew up here, so I spent a lot of time here. Every single time I have driven through town, I have driven by this project, and I've always kind of wondered how the current laundry building, as you called it, came to be, because it does stand out as being very different than the rest of the town aesthetic. So I am coming to the table actually in support of this project. I recognize it's tall. I recognize it's a large building. However, I do think that architecturally, it does fit in with the aesthetic of downtown. It's brick. It is not flat. It's not a box. It has dimension. It has shape. The green on top has been addressed. I think having a subcommittee, as Brian suggested, is a great plan to avoid having the top of the building be something that the town doesn't like. I think the fact that it is right downtown speaks. I understand the hesitation to put something so big right in downtown because it's kind of setting a precedent. Will other people want to copy? Will it kind of create this like high rise, and I use heavy quotes on high rise, feeling of downtown? And personally, I don't believe that's the case, but we're providing an amenity of location as well. The place you want the density for our residents, for people to go to the cafe, to go to Stop and Shop, to go to Nouvelle Maison, to go anywhere in town to use the commuter rail. You want to be right downtown. There are plenty of parcels throughout town that one could argue are a better maybe eyesight line for a bigger building. You could argue the Flats, where I live, has more open space and it affects less people's vision. But people want to be downtown. People that are aging and don't want to have stairs and single-family homes and yards to maintain aren't going to want to then drive into downtown to do any errand during the winter or what have you. I think that the argument for it being downtown and being big is honestly an asset to the people that will live there, and we're offering that amenity to people that desperately want it. This project provides housing diversity we do not have in town, not only from the affordable, which I'm thrilled to hear they're willing to go up to 6 units. I think that's great, but also for people that want a lower barrier to entry to Winchester, people that want to downsize and stay here. I think it's important that we're honoring people and residents of Winchester across all spans of their life cycle, not just people that have young children that are in the schools, but people that are aging into town. Sorry, I had a lot of points. One thing that also—
You need a little bit more time.
Just like 1 minute, 2 minutes maybe?
1 minute.
Fine. I think also we need to consider the tax revenue that this project will provide, that 10 Converse as today just does not give the town. It's simple. This project has been here for 20 years. The current building, I don't want to see another 20 years go where we're not reaping tax revenue that we could be for a building that does aesthetically look nice. And to Jack's point earlier, we don't know what we will get if we say no to this. And I did email everybody on the board this letter of support that is signed by 11 or 12 residents and constituents of Winchester who are also in support. I have a hard copy. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I should say that we received a number of letters from, not to you specifically, to the ether, that received a number of letters of all different topics, and everybody on the board received them and had a chance to see them. And I believe anyone that was received in a certain amount of time was added to the packet, but I don't know if anything that was received in the last 20 minutes before the meeting may not have been so. And I think there was— gentlemen back there, if you want to come on up.
evening.
Evening.
I'm Nabil Ibrahim, 42 Leslie Roads, and also a dentist at Stan Converse Place. And I'm just here. I mean, you guys doing an amazing job, and I know it's been lots of years talking about those projects. I have only one request, to know the amount of time that I need to leave the building to relocate the practice. We are 2 dentists in this building, me on the 1st floor, Dr. El Kadri on the 4th floor. It's not easy to take a table and a chair and move to another office. We need at least 6 months to be able to relocate our business. So I will ask Paul, please, if you can give me this amount of time.
Thank you very much. I will,
Thank
I
you.
think that's a fair
Because
question.
we don't know anything of what's going on. You know, the patient asked me, are you relocating? What are you doing? And I really, to tell you the truth, I don't know.
A fair question.
Another thing is, I don't want to, to relocate a business, it's like between 6 and 800,000, and then to find out that the building will stay here is, yeah. It happened with me six years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's a fair question, and I think something that should be not difficult to get an answer, a high-level answer, not necessarily our
would
purview,
like to know
not
at
necessarily
least
our
six-
purview,
yeah.
but something that I think is a fair question that you as a tenant deserve an answer to, even
Thank
though
you.
it might not be our purview, doesn't mean you don't deserve that answer.
Oh, we could,
Thank you.
we could require some notice.
I would be surprised if Urban Spaces did not have this built into their program, and, because I'm sure it's not the first time that they've displaced tenants, commercial tenants like a dentist or a doctor.
I mean, dentist is, you need the plumbing, the electricity
Yeah.
to move, redesign the whole space.
Yeah,
And I asked my, the dental supply, said at least 6 months to 8 months. And it's going to cost lots of money. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other come on up. I see another first-timer. We're not scary. Thank you very much.
Hi, everybody. I'm Caitlin Musto. I live at 12 Priscilla Lane. I'm also a town meeting member representing Precinct 4. I'm speaking today in favor of the proposed development at 10 Converse Place, or 33 Mount Vernon, whatever we want to call it. I believe it brings real value to Winchester in a thoughtful, community-minded way. The project adds much-needed housing in a location that can truly support it. It's walkable to the center, it's close to transit, and it aligns with our goals for smart, sustainable growth here in Winchester. On a personal note, my in-laws, who both grew up here, they're high school sweethearts actually, they've expressed real interest in the idea of a unit in this building. And they would love the opportunity to return to the town that they've always considered home, and a housing like this would actually make that possible for them. Additionally, I'm a chef. I'm particularly excited about the proposed cafe space. Winchester has very limited retail options available for this type of small food-focused business. The chance to activate the street with a welcoming, community-oriented cafe is incredibly appealing. It would add such vibrancy to the area, and it would support the foot traffic that keeps our downtown thriving. Overall, this project makes productive use of an underutilized site. It has evolved meaningfully and that's been based on community input. It offers housing diversity, economic activity, and a more walkable, engaged town center. I hope that we can move forward with a vision of Winchester that supports both current and future residents, and I believe this project is a strong step in that direction. The developer has shown a willingness to collaborate with us, and I do fear what we may end up with if this development fails. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else who considers themselves a first-timer, and then I will move on to our regular.
Our stock cast.
Seeing none, anybody, so now I'll just open to anybody who would like to speak, if they just raise your hand, and I'll welcome to the table. Come on up. You're the next contestant. No, seriously. I'm teasing because we go a little stir-crazy up here, so I appreciate your...
Okay, so I'm an old timer here. I think you know what I'm going to say, but I actually have a couple of questions listening to the initial conversation with the developer. I thought that you wanted 4 affordable units and 2 workforce units. And I heard 3 affordable and 3 workforce. I also do not understand how you can vote on this when you don't have a plan. when you don't have architectural plans. But the first question I really want an answer, like from the developer, is it 4 and 2 or 3 and 3? 4 affordable and,
Just say that I asked for 4 and 2.
you did ask for 4 and 2.
And we have not said whether what they've responded to
I
is
mean,
acceptable to us.
I heard him say 3 and 3.
We have
And I
not.
also think you need floor plans that show where the units are and how many there are. And I think the Winchester Housing Authority wants more details, et cetera. This is out of my area of specialty, which is about scale, but that concerns me. Also, the Design Review Committee has looked at this twice and asked for a model last time, and we were presented with a digital model, no physical model, but I think a lot of people in town will truly, truly think this is too big. And actually, I just emailed Ian a sketch I didn't include in my packet because it's kind of unbelievable. I don't know if you can pull it up from your email and put it on the screen, but I think people don't know how big this is, and I sent images in my letter I just sent in. But I think back to the model, I think, first of all, four of the design review people haven't really gotten a chance to see it. They couldn't come to that meeting. The purpose of the model is to examine it with time and be thoughtful and not just have it presented to you, and to be able to look wherever you want to look at the model. And so I don't understand why it's not a public access model. And when I went to the model showing, the architect said it's AutoCAD, it's very easy to make it accessible to everyone. And so my question, my question is, can you please ask to make the model public, accessible to the public so that people who are concerned can look at it and, manipulate it and explore.
Okay.
Because it's not a software problem. And the other thing is, I'm a little shocked that we're going to, that we may be approving this.
You need some extra time?
I do need extra time. Thank you very
I gave
much.
you 2 more minutes. Would that be enough?
I actually want to quickly go through my images.
Is 2 more minutes enough?
But I just want to make a point that architecture's foisted on people, and it'll be here forever, like well past when we are gone, right? And so to get 6 affordable units, but I think it's sacrificing a big aspect of the center, which I wrote about in my letter. I think there's other ways to get 6 affordable units. So do you mind going to my images real quick?
Is it hard to see those, or? I mean, can we see them up there?
Oh, yeah.
fine, yes.
At any rate, I wrote a letter and I
I don't
had,
want anything left on the table. I want everybody, I don't want anything left on the table. I don't take this the wrong way. I don't want you going on forever, but at the same time, I don't want anything left on the table that you say, oh my God, I didn't get a chance to show whatever you want to show. So.
Thank you. I really appreciate
Be
it.
expedient, but also show us what you need to show us.
I wrote a letter concerned about the 69-foot height, which is the height of the park view, and Brian already said it's 29 feet taller than by right, 3 to 4 stories taller than most buildings in the center. Also, these are, because we don't have the digital model in our hands, I had shown these earlier, and I have a few more. Clearly, this is not the building. It's a diagram that shows what the building will block from various views, and I think it's reasonably accurate because you can scale off the Mill Pond building, and the proposed building is 7 feet taller, and it goes to Mount Vernon Street, and it angles up Mount Vernon Street. So from this viewpoint, this is what you see. You can go to the next one. Thank you. Another just view from the common. And when the leaves are off the trees, you lose more views of the town hall, and you'll see green metal or brown metal going across there. Okay, next one. Thank you. and you can keep going. That's just the size of the building coming down. And we do have model images. And this actually is looking from the town hall or the library at the old proposal, and then the pink is the new proposal. And also, this is afternoon. The lawn will be in shade. You lose the church steeple. You know, we lose a lot of view corridors. Okay, next one. Again, a little view from Church Street is going to be obliterated. You can keep going, thank you. And from up near the temple, not so much obliterated, but this just shows the size of the building. I mean, it is big. Okay, you can keep going. Thank you so much. This is actually from the railroad platform, and I think this goes to show that the flat-roofed metal top is a little incongruous, or very incongruous with the slate roofs and the towers and that sort of thing, that it doesn't really belong here. Could you go to my little images I had of taking off floors? I know that's not on the table, but I feel like people have asked the developer to please, yeah, can you remove the top floor? Can you remove floors? We get no. So I, actually, if you can go to the very beginning of that PDF. Yeah, up to the picture, sorry. Yeah, there we go. So there we have the 6 floors, the top being metal, and then scroll to the next one. This is how it would look with 5. And then the next one is how it would look with 4. If it were 4 stories and the same footprint, it would have 24 units. That is pretty good. It could be a mixed use, and I realize that doesn't work financially for this particular developer, but this would be so much better than what we have. And the 5-story would be 2. And it could even be possibly a friendly 40B with, you know, 24 units. And again, this is a whole nother ballgame than what we're talking about here. But what we're seeing now is not the only option for this site. And I think a fear of what might come is maybe in part driving this. Yeah, and can you just flip through these then?
So just so you know, the entire board has seen this.
Has seen these,
Yes,
okay,
yes,
but maybe some of the, yeah, I
got this.
appreciate that.
No, and
But back, can you go back up to that one, because
Jamie, I'm, sorry, I'm doing it.
Taylor has.
Oh, you're doing it. I thought Ian was doing it. Sorry. So this is, the one before was 6 floors, and you can see, if you go to the one, yeah, that one, that top floor will be looking over the common and all of the West Hill, and that top floor is a corridor leading to 3 exclusive condos that are going to be looking over the library, the East Hill. So from here, we're going to have a corridor with lights on probably at night, and that's it. That's it. That looks over our town towards the Congregational Church, towards the temple, towards the common, and all of the West Hill. And it just is not, you know, language in the 7.3 regs does not ask for this. It asks for something elegant and, you know, this, like, just no. So anyway, if you go to the next slide, it's 1 floor less. And if it's only 4 floors, next slide, there you go. It's just like so much better. This is too tall. And yeah, and I think there's 24 units here if it's the same plan as what I see.
Thank you.
Yeah, so.
Thank you. I appreciate
You guys know what I think, but I think this is a big mistake, and I think we can get affordable units, even in the center, without ruining the roofscape and the picturesque quality, which is talked about all the time in the 7.3 regs. And I live right across from the Waterfield lot, which is being developed into 60 units, I think, and it's only 3 to 4 stories, but it's going to work.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say
Go
that
ahead, go ahead.
I think there's a lot of fear about what could happen, and I think a lot of that's unfounded. It just sounds a little bit maybe unintentional fear mongering. I don't think we're not gonna get an ugly 40B. 40Bs are subject to design guidelines, it's subject to historical, it's subject to a whole number of things, including the property value and all of this. So I don't think that should be a consideration. I think we should be focusing on what we have here. Does it meet our affordable needs? Is it too high? You know, whatever the criteria that we're currently dealing with.
I agree 100%. Anything that's not on the table before us is hypothetical, and it's not on the table before us. I'm not considering a 40B. It may come, it may happen, I don't know.
And if it does happen,
but it's not on.
The town would have control over it. I mean, you know, the landscape will be completely different. The value of the property will be lower. There be a number of different considerations that we'd be thinking about.
It's not in my calculus, I'll put it that way, because I know we received some letters saying that we are thinking that way, and I am not. I can't speak for other members. For me, it's this proposal or not this proposal is what I'm looking at, not something down the road. But fair point. I don't know how the other members feel, but so I think Maureen, you wanted to speak.
I didn't even raise my hand. I just sense it. The electricity.
I'm a smart man.
Well, she's got notes. She's scribbling. Maureen Meister, 3 Meadowcroft. Thank you. This is out of order, but partly in response to we are all learning every hearings, which is our every meeting. So here I am trying to respond, and it's disorganized. I do want to start, I suppose, I'm just taking it from the top. On the affordable, we really aren't getting much out of this for 69 to 70 feet. We're getting a very minimal number of what count toward the SHI, the Subsidized Housing Index. And this is a goal of the town. It's part of the housing production plan. We are aiming for a state mandate of 10% affordable. This is just a nothing. And related to that, reminding not just the board, but the members who are here, who might be watching later on the YouTube, but that over time, this board has worked toward rezoning North Main Street. So we've got a huge potential in terms of what may be coming our way in terms of housing. We've got the opportunity to develop the housing we want. That's been a goal of this board for Winchester. So we've got MBTA overlay. We've got a new zoning for the entire North Main Street. We've got a lot of opportunity for housing. We don't have to sandwich it all in right by this mill pond at 70 feet. A reminder, again, not just to this board, but to the community that's watching and people who are commenting, the height of this building as proposed is the height of the park view. We're talking about putting the park view smack dab, not in a curve, but stretching along the river, or the Aberdona, the mill pond, stretching along that, creating a huge wall right in the middle of the center, a huge wall. This is a National Register historic district, and a lot of us understand that that has a lot of value. In fact, when I was on the planning board, we were able to hear from more than 1,000 people. Carrie, that's how I think we met, and that was an experience. Jim Johnson was on there, people from Sam Allison, I can keep naming names. This was a great group of people who worked hard to create this outreach of more than 1,000 people. So as they were asked various questions, there was this word cloud. And right after housing, and that's pretty ambiguous, I will say, but the next word was historic. That was the word cloud, what people think about and value in Winchester. Then there was a question about town assets. Town center was one of those town assets. The center is highly valued. It's part of why people move here. If you want to just live out in an area that's all rural, go to Lincoln. But people are here in part because of the center. And then there's another one, cultural resources. Top is library, number 2 is town center. And then under historic resources, it said, it's 91%. Hello, that's our survey, the really effective survey for the master plan that's supposed to guide everything this board does going forward. Even though the names have changed, the people have changed. 91% of respondents agreed that preserving the historic quality of the town center is important. 91%, hello. So what we do and I'll just pass this around, it's familiar, I suspect, to Carrie, but to the rest of you, you should have it, and you can keep it. But this is what you're supposed to be thinking about if you're actually here to represent the town and not your personal interests. So I will say, when people are thinking, I value the historic character, they're not thinking of a Boston scale, not maybe even Somerville, maybe at 70 feet, but even Somerville, Davis Square, we're talking about 70 feet, people, as a wall, not just even 70 feet as like a pencil skyscraper in New York City, but 70 feet wrapping around this, right through, cutting through the center. That's pretty substantial. So I will say, we're not really coming out of this with the affordable housing that we hope to, that not only hope, that we've zoned to get. We can get it, we'll get there. This isn't the time or place to do it. And then, what are we saying to our respondents, our 91% who care about and really value the historic town center? So I think that pretty much does it for me. Oh, parking. Thank you to Carrie Layton. The parking is something you should watch, because if we're going to see up to 44 units and we have squeezing 36 spaces, that's a big giveaway. Those spaces will end up coming guaranteed from these resident permits, where they end up with the parking. They'll be going over the Jenks lot, and they'll be moving the cars around the streets, which are spaces taken away from our local retail. That parking is something you really should take very seriously. Dropping below the number of units with the a number of spaces that we've got by quite a bit, 8, as potentially as many as 8. Don't let that one slide in order to say, yes, I'm all in favor of this 79 feet, because you're paying, we're all going to be paying the price for that. Those units have actual, as we know, if you've done any study of planning, parking spaces have a pretty high financial value, and this town shouldn't be giving away that. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Come on up. Just so I can get a preview, could anybody else who anticipates wanting to have public comment raise their hand now, so I can, I see no other. So you will be the last public comment, and then we'll have a chance to discuss.
Ben Albiani, 58 Oxford Street in Winchester. I'm also a town meeting member, Precinct 7, Chamber of Commerce member, and business owner in Winchester as well. It's definitely a tall building. There's no two ways around that. But I think that with the new laws that are coming in, with the MBTA ruling and the density that they're trying to do, I think that the applicant has done a good job of trying to work with the town as far as skinning up the building, moving it away from the pond and everything like that. This is one of, if not the most desirable developable lot in New England when this was written. It is a beautiful spot. This is a building that the applicant has done. I don't know the applicant, but they've done a great job of trying to match the center with the brick, and we can go back and forth on the green. I think they were trying to match an aged copper color or something like that. I think with design review, I think that would be something that you guys could work on. I think that Winchester as a whole has been, we keep talking about all these subsidized units that we can have, which is over on the Waterfield lot. That's not happening. Fells Hardware, that's not happening. We took too long as a town to move forward with these, to work with the developers, so that the town has sort of been, over the last bunch of years, we haven't had the developments that we're looking for. We keep talking about North Main Street and how that's, we redid the zoning. We have one applicant that's come in. I think that the town is working really well with that applicant up on North Main Street by the Meineke. I think that that's what we need to do, is work with developers instead of going against them and trying to, if we can get 6 out of this and it actually gets built, then that's 6 units. They're talking about the subsidized units on the Waterfield lot. The way that the economy went and the interest rates and that and Fells Hardware, they're not being, you have a permit that you could go and purchase Fells Hardware and build this, but you can't do it because the times have changed in what the economy was like. So when you went through and said, it's 32 units, I'm just throwing out numbers, 32 units, well, at the monies that it was going at, the builder couldn't do that. We've seen developers, not want to come to the town because of how difficult it's been. I'm not saying we roll over and let anyone come in, but when someone comes through, speaks to the town, comes back, and is a back and forth dialogue with the planning board and with the zoning board, all these different boards, if they are willing to come and have a conversation and make a building that I think is an attractive building. It is tall, there's no two ways around that. But it's, you know, the Scotty building that's next to it, that could be developed. China Sky could be developed. And, you know, I'm not saying, you know, I'm sure when the Brown and Stanton block was being built, which is a beautiful building, that was a large building in town. The town hall, large, you know, we're in, it's a beautiful building. All right, they were, you know, very large. I'm just saying that I think that the applicant has done a good job of trying to set back the two top stories. They've turned the building back as towards the pond, so it's not a straight up building that when you're walking down the street that you just see a massive high rise to it. I think that we work, and also to the point of the applicant trying to get layouts of interior designs, that's not at the point of where the building. An applicant needs to talk about what the structure is going to be, and then they can fit in. Also, as far as the retail space and as far as the Chamber of Commerce is concerned, a restaurant or a cafe there would be spectacular. That brings more people into town, that supports other small businesses that are in town. We don't want to end up dropping the height down and then having residential units on the first floor. You want to keep that as a walkable, shoppable area for all the town to use. I think that the green space that they're talking about as far as being town use is a huge, this is their property that they're paying taxes on. They're allowing us to use the green space there. I think that that they're working with us. I think we should work with them. That's my opinion. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So with that, I will close public comment, and this is our chance to discuss whether what we've heard and whether we want to ask additional questions, whether we want to be voting on the waivers. So I open it up to all of you.
I would like to make one point, and it's to Nick. I'd like to disagree with Nick, and by your affirmation, your contention too. I think we are the planning board, and as such, it's our job to look forward and to, as best we can. No one has a crystal ball. And that means that we cannot pretend that decisions that we make have no repercussions in the future. So I am concerned about what would happen if we do not approve this. I've gotten a lot of emails we've all gotten a lot of emails from people saying things like 40B is not so bad and we'll have a lot of control over it, but I don't know. I mean, I'd rather, you know, the devil you know versus the one you don't. If maybe that's a poor analogy, but I think we've got a pretty good thing here, and as Mr. Albiani said, the developer has worked hard to accommodate what this community needs on so many levels. To turn thumbs down on, I think would be a big mistake and would open the door to, I have no idea what, but it scares me. Just my opinion.
Thank you.
I do not want to have the client back up here to get into a back and forth about this, but I have a couple of reflections. I am concerned about the comments that I was getting that were the most encouraging was the fact that these would be larger units, and the accommodations that will need to be made to accommodate the affordable units is these units will get smaller. And the commercial space will get smaller and the bike space will get smaller. And I don't know if we can, you know, the site plan, the special permit process will be when we get into those elements, but the PUD decision is based on whether or not this is bringing the inventory that we were hoping. And I think the affordable housing 40B option would meet the criteria with the developer who would come in expecting to need to meet affordable housing criteria and with the support for that. And potentially the fact that if the cell towers really can't be pried free from the property, which I think we don't have a good answer to, I mean, it's possible that that revenue would help contribute to elevating the quality of the result of a future development. So I think that's an interesting point that I keep noodling in my head. That's a revenue stream that most properties don't have, and I think that could end up being a reasonable exchange. We need the design of future projects to be high quality, and knowing that this revenue stream is something that's unique to that property. I think we're stuck in this weird spot where we're feeling obligated to correct a miscalculation. We have to make this certain bit back. We have to sort of accommodate for this negotiation. And I can't picture, I'm trying to picture a material that we're excited about for those top 2 stories. And I think we're all just trying to figure out a way to make them disappear. And I think as far as the permanence of the building and the reality of the scope of it, I can't imagine a material that kind of justifies it. And without it being obviously, I've swung around to where I think so many pieces are going to change after the waivers are voted on that I'm not sure what we're giving away the skyline for.
Fair. It's my opinion,
Yeah,
that the vote for the waiver is both a special permit waiver and a PUD waiver, because by right, this building is
Right.
40 feet. So
Right.
it can go up to 48 feet by a special permit. So I think we can talk about both of them.
I know, but
it doesn't
we've matched
mean that
that
we're
they're not
approving the
code-
special permit. If this board approves those waivers, tied into those waivers are aspects of the special permit to get us to 48 feet and aspects of the PUD to get it be above 48 feet. At least that's my interpretation.
Right.
A reasonable person could interpret that anything above 40 can be done by PUD.
I think we can condition waivers. Can we condition waivers?
Condition waivers? What do you mean?
Like, I think we could, I think we're approving them expecting to then condition the special permit, but I think we could, let's not get into a legal battle. I don't want everybody back up at the table.
Conditioning it in that we're going to indicate the affordable units, the expectation there, that's a condition of the special permit, or the waiver, right?
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
So it's not, we can do more than that.
So we don't have a firm answer on whether we are conditioning the waivers based on 4 affordable and 2 workforce or 3 and 3.
Well, it depends on what we decide.
Right.
If we're conditioning in that. I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say this. I think 4 and 2 is not really negotiable in my mind, because 3 and 2 is what's required in the bylaw for a 34-unit development. And I think that I'd have a hard time approving this development as 34 units, because I think it pulls us behind in our SHI.
Yeah.
We
No,
actually
I-
end up, and so that's why my request was 35 units with all the units that go along with that, which would be 4 and 2, which actually keeps us on parity, doesn't have us fall behind, pushes us forward by the tiniest bit, but does not have us say at the end of the day the denominator got bigger than the numerator got on our SHI, which is important to me.
No, I'm with you there. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm saying what I heard in the discussion earlier was not a firm 4 and 2. It was
No, I
maybe
don't
3
think
and
that
3.
was a firm 4 and 2 from them. I think it was hoping for 3 and 3. And I guess I'm just gonna say that 4 and 2 is my expectation.
Right, which you would be interested in a 4 and 2,
Yeah.
and not. And in the list of conditions, we're also want to wait for final language on the open space
Yeah.
and how that's going to be used. We want to
Right.
find some acceptable language to that.
Right, yeah.
And-
I mean,
and
for me,
memorialization of that.
the 4 and 2 as a hard line ends up compromising the I don't want to sort of like make it sound like affordable housing is the compromise, but it sounds like the adjustments that are going to be made to accommodate the 4 and 2 condition are going to change the inventory of units in a way that I can't see because we haven't seen floor plan. I mean, it changes the project for me. people were looking forward to these larger, the ask that I was hearing was, these are big units that people can downsize from a 3,000 square foot home into.
If
Anyway,
one additional unit in this building causes every unit to become much smaller than,
34 to 42 is a big jump.
34 to 42 is a huge jump. 34 to 35 is what I'm talking about.
No, I know, but he said 42 units if we go to a 4-2.
Yeah,
Those are different units.
I think that is something that,
It's kind of an upper,
What's that?
sort of an upper limit, I think 42.
I think if we went to 42, we'd need more than 4 and 2.
Yeah, we need to.
But we would
also-
be past the.
I understand that.
Like, I think at this point, we have so many moving parts, I think I'm
It's also the
losing
parking
my
issue.
fear
If
of
we
the
go to
unknown.
42, I think that would be tough.
We also are working with we weren't part of creating this code, but I think it's 0.75 spaces per unit. And no one thought to include an absolute height maximum. I couldn't believe when I read, I was flipping through, I couldn't believe.
Right.
It's got to be a note I missed something, like.
Yep. Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
it would seem that no one even thought that it would be this high. I mean.
I think it's because I think the town is changing, and I think there's a push towards, density and housing, and that's a need from the state, and it's a need from the country, and it's a correct moral moment, and I think when we hear people come up to the table, I think the push to build this building is from people who are doing it in the correct spirit and from a place of sort of like, growth and inclusion and expanding the opportunity to experience and live in Winchester. But I think it's coming from a place where they have not spent a ton of time in the zoning bylaws. And I think the people that we hear come up here were sort of so steeped in the zoning bylaws that they couldn't contemplate the center business district becoming a spirit of grow, 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 grow. And so we're stuck parenting this twin mess.
I mean,
Well, and also this particular parcel, it's a relatively small as a percentage of the overall space that we've outlined in the North Main Street development potential. So we do have a lot of area to build these higher density buildings, and we've set that out. And I mean, by itself, the tax revenue is not that meaningful, but once the development starts happening on North Main and we have these larger
Exactly.
spaces.
We have
in
addressed the
aggregate,
need
it's
for
gonna be
housing.
important, but when you
Right.
talk about the center, you're talking about a canvas.
Right.
It's got some
And our
different,
heart.
some different criteria, than different parts of North Main.
Right. And that, I mean, it obviously personally wounds me that the North Main has not produced enough yet, but it has only been a year.
Right, we're nurturing.
We have approved a project.
approved project in
We got
under a year.
the first
from-
project is approved.
Under a
I know.
year.
We're in
from
year
Right.
10
So
for
I think that's-
CBD.
I know, so we're really on kind of an aggressive growth rate here, and so,
Don't get spoiled.
yeah, so I hate to get so excited about growth that we give up the heart of the town.
So, I,
Anyway.
like you all, I'm sure, have walked this site, well, for 53 years, but I've walked it for 53 days now, or plus, looking at it, agonizing over the height of this building. My agony is
How many of
this.
us have walked around downtown with Brian?
My agony is that, and you probably aren't going to like this, I don't think there's a big difference between 5 stories and 6 stories as far as that building. So if we were to suddenly say it's only going to be 5 stories, I look at it and I say, I don't see a big difference. I think it needs to be 4 stories before it looks materially different to me. I actually appreciated some of the design drawings of taking the 2 floors off. I'm not proposing that. I'm simply saying that dropping it from 6 to 5, it's still going to be an imposing building in the middle of the town. So I feel like we're spending a lot of time saying to ourselves, well, it's 7 feet taller than the laundry building. The laundry building, I sat there at First House looking up at the laundry building from the window.
And at the bagel bar.
And in the bagel bar. I've sat there a lot of different places. An extra 7 feet isn't what bothers me. But in exchange for that height,
Yeah.
there are certain things that I think are reasonable. I mean, they're asking a lot, like I said. They're asking a lot. So I'm asking, I asked a lot in return. And I don't know that, I'm not sure we're there. I'm not sure they are there. I think they're part of the way there. I think 4 units at 80% and 2 at 120 is sort of my ground.
But it's one extra unit for all that height.
Well, it's 1 extra unit, but that's my ground. That's not,
That's
that's
a floor. That's like a minute, or I don't know how you say it, but it's not that much for all that height.
No. So what we are, if I use an analogy, we're buying something here. And what we're buying is access to prime open space in Winchester Center. Perhaps the most prime access to open space in Winchester Center. That's what I see that we're getting. And that's what I'm also not there, because I'm not sure that we have the vehicle yet that says that we have, I believe them when they say, we're gonna do these things and make sure you have access to this. We're gonna do these things and make sure that it's maintained right. And I think it can be worked through to that. And so if I were to vote to support the waivers, they would be on the understanding, in my mind, that prior to voting for a special permit, we are, anybody who is willing to vote yes is comfortable that we will have access to the majority of that land in perpetuity. And if we're not, then even if I vote the waivers, I would still vote down the special permit, because I would not be comfortable, because it's a transaction, and they're getting extra height and extra FAR. We need that.
We're getting access to the land. And we're gonna have to be satisfied that it's not gonna disappear in 7 years or 10 years, or, you know, we really understand what we're getting and for how long and what the terms are for maintenance, and
100%.
you know, that would be, something could be worked out.
To all of our satisfaction.
Absolutely.
Before we could vote on a
Absolutely.
special
No,
permit.
It's gotta be, yeah. it's
Because
gotta be-
after the special permit's approved, despite the good faith, and I actually believe they come in good faith, people change. Maybe the development, maybe the approval gets, somebody else, a different developer comes in and they say, well, we're just gonna go by the letter of what's in the special permit, not by, I mean, I don't know.
Well, our attorney looked at it, their interpretation of these words.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've already had that with, as far as the affordable units. And I'm not, I get it, it's confusing. But so that's what, that concerns me. I'm still concerned about the retail space on the waterfront, because I think that is one of the other amenities that we are buying if we approve this is, and we can say, well, maybe a Pilates studio is good. I don't know how many of you do. I don't know how
great it is. I mean,
I don't know how many of you do Pilates.
The women's fitness
Yeah.
is a nice spot, but it doesn't activate anything.
It doesn't activate anything.
Exactly.
I agree with that. And the reason I say a cafe or a restaurant is that I think everyone in this entire town has eaten at a restaurant this year. And we would happily sit down there on the waterfront. There is not a waterfront dining spot in town unless you talk about China Sky looking across. So, I mean, I think that's important, and I think that's something we can work out. There might be other uses that are valuable too, but I'm worried about the add-ons, the Pilates studio or something like that. Nothing wrong with Pilates. Whoever just said they did that. And then last but not least, like I said, this is going to be, if approved, the only commercial space on the Mill Pond. I don't expect that development to foot the bill for any remediation in perpetuity for the future. But I think it would be reasonable for them to foot some of the remediation for that, because they are going to have front row access to that spot. That's why I was very careful to ask, is that a deal breaker? I got the impression it was not a deal breaker, but it was a deal bender. You know, in fairness, so I'm having a hard time. I sent this email with these requests, and I thought to myself, I realize it's not my money, it's their money, not mine. I thought to myself, these are like, they're going to come in, they're going to say, sure, yes, 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 let's sign and be done. And that's not what happened. But I feel like there's also the spirit of collaboration. I don't think they came in and said, no, 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 still give us the special permit.
Yeah, there's some room for negotiation.
Yeah, so.
If I can come at this from a different angle too, because like all of you, I've been thinking about Little Else for the last month.
You dream about it too, like
yeah,
me?
I do actually. That's sick, but I thought if we approve this, will we get used to it? You know, just simply, well, oh my God, it's so big. And so I asked myself that question in many different ways. And I said, well, I've lived in town for 37 years and I've seen a lot of change. And you've lived here for 53, you've seen even more than I've seen. So I thought about what have I seen and what do I miss and what are these new things, have I gotten used to them? So most recently, we got a new train station that presents a much higher profile. I think it's a better looking station. I think I was on the committee that worked with the MBTA, and I think Jamie was as well, weren't you, Jamie?
No, I was not, and I do not think it's an
It's
So sorry.
at least concrete's not falling.
It's just a little bit like this new building might be. Thank you for asking me, but it's too bright and too many lights.
Anyway,
It's a little unfortunate.
at any rate,
Also, while I have the floor,
no, you don't have the floor, I'm sorry.
Hold on, I'm gonna let Jack speak again, because Jack,
And then before that, when they elevated the station in the 1950s, they utterly destroyed town center. And I wasn't here for that, but people who were will say that.
Oh, yes.
In my time, I have seen the loss of Pansy Patch, which was a heartbreaker for me. And now we have Greystone at Winchester. Am I used to that now? I suppose so. 846 Main Street, which is a gray, boring, three-story residential building across from the new Italian restaurant, which the name escapes me at the moment. Thank you. I had a side conversation with Carrie, and if I can betray her confidence, when we were doing the tour last fall, I asked her, would that have been approved under the MSMD law? And she said, probably not.
It would have had to be changed. There would have
Yeah,
been
there would have had to have been changes. Now, what was there before, I bet few of you can remember, but I remember it was a beauty salon. It was set way back on the lot. It was a single story. It wasn't pretty, but it was historic, and the Historical Commission signed off on the demolition permit because it had no historical significance. Am I used to that building yet? I asked my wife about it today. She said she drives by it every day, and I had to show her on Google Street View what it was. She didn't know what I was talking about. Another one on that same stretch is Cutter Village. It's 778 Main Street, a 12-unit rental apartment building that replaced the historic Cutter building, which was unfortunately lost to fire. There was a fire that had resulted in the demo. At any rate,
Comment period.
I think I think that's a fairly attractive building. Again, would it have been approved under MSMD? Probably not in its current form, but have I gotten used to that? Probably, I guess I have. I wasn't here as a resident when the Main Street Theater was demolished and it was replaced by, I love the Winchester Savings Bank, but that's a brutalist piece of architecture that I can't stand. It doesn't belong in Winchester. Am I used to it? I suppose I am. It's too big for the site. It's too ucky. It's not a pleasant.
That's a very scientific
Yeah,
architectural.
it reminds me of Boston City Hall. I could go on, and I'm not going to go any further, but I guess I'm just saying, I think we could get used to it. If we find it jarring and tall, I think it's something we would get used to. That's just...
Okay, I will not inadvertently shame you for your lack of attention to detail on the planning board, but I will gently point out that it turns out the town has not gotten used to the laundry building.
That's true. That's true. It's cropped out of every photograph taken downtown.
I think it's because it's in the middle of downtown.
That's true.
Anyway,
right at the height of
I rest my
parking as
case.
well, yeah.
Thank you. So, I don't know if we're in an impasse. There's certain things that have been requested by me. I don't, if some of you agree with those and you don't feel like been adequately addressed, we can either take a motion with qualifications, which it seems like we can on the FAR and height, or we need to move forward. We need
So
to either say yes to them or let them go.
Let me understand
Agree with
this,
that. We vote tonight.
Taylor. We can approve these waivers, but that's all we're doing. We still have all these other things to negotiate, such as the affordable units and access to the, all the things that Brian mentioned, for instance.
Well, yeah, but if we approve the waivers,
We cannot
we're
negotiate
committing
the
them to
height.
doing all this work and spending all this money. And so we can't just come back later and say no and deny it. So we're almost basically approving the project or not.
It's one way of looking at it,
By what we
sure.
say
You're
today.
pretty close to that.
Sure,
Very
sure.
close to approving the project. If you
But
approve
I'm
the
saying,
waiver.
Taylor gave us some language for the motion, and I take it that's all we would have to say. We don't have to build conditions into these motions, do we?
Well, if we want conditions on the project, I mean, then we would, wouldn't we?
We're not gonna take a
Well, what's
final
their
vote on this
option if
until
we
we see a
approve
housing
waivers
plan.
and condition it and they don't
Pardon
agree
me?
with the conditions? What's their
Well, that-
option to
that-
pull the project?
Yeah, you can, the conditions are, your approval of the height is based off of what you want. You're telling them, we will allow you to build at this height if you, excuse me, if you do this. Yeah.
Isn't that kind of what we want to?
Yeah.
We have these list of conditions and we want to, I think we should put them in the approval
Of the waiver.
of the waiver, right? Not leave them to be discussed later, but
Yeah, they will be conditions of the special permit, but what you are doing now is saying, yes, we are approving the waiver with these conditions
right, this
of the special.
count of affordable housing.
Yeah.
This is what we're going to require and which units they're going to be were worked out by
Comes
others,
later.
really. Yeah, not, it
But
needs,
Nick's point is correct. You are also, by voting this, you are also insinuating or giving the applicant the idea of, we are willing to move forward with you if you meet these requirements. So it is up to you to make sure that you meet them as well.
So my understanding, the conditions would be the 6 that you outlined. Were there others in addition to what Brian said?
green space.
I don't have much more to say. Let's just say.
No, but in terms of this motion tonight.
Same answer.
Okay.
So I have new discomfort over the strange varying of the number of units potentially in this development.
That could be a condition of our waiver.
Yeah, it could be.
But we can't condition them
We
to
can't
something that's
condition this,
financially, like, we can't
effectively.
say, you have to build a 35-unit building, 4 of them have to be affordable. 2
No,
of
I
them
don't
have to
think,
be-
I don't think we're gonna talk about the total number of units. I think we're gonna talk about the 4 affordable and the 2 workforce units.
Well, yeah,
But if there's a different number of units, if we're approving this, how many units are we, we're saying it meets, if we're saying it meets the PUD because it has X number of units and there's this many affordable and this many, what is X?
Well, that's what I'm
Thank
saying,
you.
I don't think we can,
So you guys are, these are good points, but the way that you are trying to approve this waiver, you are headed down a slippery slope, because you can endlessly
Yes, that's
add
what I'm worried
Agreed.
about.
more stuff, right? Typically, what happens is you approve the waivers simultaneously with the special permit. However, we've gotten to this project, the way that this project has gone, we continue to meet every other week and not make a decision. So we need to make a decision, and this seemed to be what we all agreed on as the best way to move forward. So it is a hard decision, and I agree that there are probably other things that could be added to it, but you have to draw the line somewhere and make a decision.
Okay.
So we are not exposing ourselves by waiving this without conditions, because we still have to approve the special permit. That's where we can lay in the conditions. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, in my mind, if we feel like we need to start typing up paragraphs of conditions, then we have our answer.
Well, I look back at what
We
the
don't feel
planning
great
board
about it.
approved in 2022 and the minutes, and they have, you know,
Right, but again,
was
that's
the
the
special
typical process of voting on it while you're also voting on, the conditions are conditions to the special permit, not conditions to the waiver.
exactly
That-
my
that's
point.
why
Yeah,
this
so
is
we
such a
don't need,
strange-
yeah, we don't need it tonight.
Right, but if you don't wanna vote on the individual, if you don't wanna vote on the reasons why you're voting one way or another on a waiver, you should at least make them very clear that this is why we are granting you the 69 feet, is because we believe that we can achieve these things.
See, I think to Nick's point, I think that it's a fair thought, but I also think that we've communicated to the applicant pretty clearly tonight what it is we're looking for, and I don't think there's any mystery. This being a public hearing, you're not gonna come back and say, I don't remember that. What are you talking about? It's on the record. So,
Yeah, but there are things
I
we'll
don't-
all hear
pardon me?
differently. There are things we'll all hear differently. Someone will hear 35, someone will hear 42.
I think we just vote for a clean waiver.
So
You mean a clean waiver without comment on the number of affordable units?
Yeah, as Taylor crafted it, I move to approve the.
Is this a motion or not?
Is
Are you
this a
making,
motion?
are you making a motion?
I guess
or-
I am, aren't I?
We can
So-
make the motion, then have discussion about it, so that doesn't,
Might not even get a second. I move to approve the proposed building height of 69 feet, where 40 feet is allowed by right, 59 is allowed by open space special permit, and no limit under PUD special permit.
does anybody want to second that motion?
No, I mean, I can't second the motion because I'm not certain about how we're going to guarantee we get seems to be the two big things we were talking about, was the number of affordable and the open space.
So you can add that on to the,
I mean,
Would
you know
like
what
to-
I'm saying?
Yeah, would you like to amend the motion and make it yourself?
So we're talking about 4 affordable units and 2 workforce units. The 4 80% and 2 120s. Is that what the
That's what,
workforce?
what we've been I requested, and
Mhm.
it seems, and again, it seems like the board agreed with me, where I get confused is, that's at 35 units.
Excuse me.
That's at 35 units. If it's 45 units, if it's 25 units, I mean, that's great, that's a
It's
much,
not gonna happen.
but, no, it's not.
Yeah,
But if it's
I
45
get
units, and
your
I
point
understand
there.
it was represented, 34 to 42, but, that's what was represented, and I have no reason not to believe them, but that is a range.
Yeah, I was surprised at the upper limit of that range.
It doesn't seem like one unit, we're not getting that much, it doesn't seem to me. One additional unit for the
You're
height,
getting
but-
6 units.
Right, but we're only getting, we're asking for one additional, so 4 instead of 3.
And we're getting the open space.
We have to have that anyway because of the Conservation Commission.
No, you're getting to use their open space, their space.
They could fence it off
Right.
if they wanted to.
I mean, if you kind of want to, and present it as an additional amenity to your buyers.
Yeah, that'd be a nice perk, have a nice
Absolutely.
fenced-off yard there for all the residents. They could have barbecue out there.
I'd like to ask the
Well,
board,
it
if
almost-
they, I want to ask the board if they would like to hear from the applicant, or if they don't want to. The applicant has their raised hand. I would need I'd feel like,
He's raising, I'm sorry, he is?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm fine hearing from him.
would you like to hear from him?
Sure.
Okay, come on up. There's 3 of us.
Just a point of order, because I think we're confused at why we suggested that the unit count might need to change. The premise was, although we have a different interpretation of the language was that we had to provide three deed restricted units. Let's not get confused between affordable and workforce. You know, the reality is there's 80, they're all affordable, 80% or 120%. So I'll use the term deed restricted. So when we came with 34 units, we had in our minds, and it became apparent in public record, says so, that we thought there were 3 units. Our attorney thought there were 3 units. Others thought there were 3 units. The board chair does not agree, and that's fine. So that went to 6. So now we said, how are we going to squeeze in 3 more units, not just 1? So we don't really know. You know, it could be that we have 34 plus 3 is 37. The only reason we said that it could go to as many as 44 was because that's where the next breaking point was. We don't want to inadvertently, by doing a good thing, by giving bonus units, sort of put us in a position where we've bumped now to 7. You know, that's not the intent of anybody here. And that's what's happened from 34 to 35 in a way. But that's fine, because we want to do 6 units. So not to get confused, you know, do we want to do 37 instead of 44? Probably, you know. But by the way, the unit changes. If we go from 37 to 44, they're not going to change most of the unit sizes that much. You know, it's not like everything is proportionally coming down, you know, by 7% or whatever the numbers are. We just need to figure out, and it takes study, time, and money, and we can't do those things until we get your direction, to figure out if we can squeeze in the new deed restricted units, you know, into this envelope. There's a window patterning that happens, and there's units that are a certain dimension, and you know, a 2-bedroom needs 3 windows. If we now need to put a 1-bedroom in, well, now that 2 bedrooms gone, and now we need a 1, a 1, and a 1. So that's why 1 becomes 3. It's not that it necessarily will, and we want to keep the 1-to-1 parking as much as we can too. But something's got to give. If you want 3 more units, we'll give it to you. But we have a 34 unit building designed right now. We can't add 3 units and make it still 34 units. So it's got to go to 37. Or maybe we looked at the ripple effect. Maybe it's as much as 44. You know, if you'd like, just because you control our future, we would like to suggest that if you feel this is not out of turn to suggest, and one thing that could work for us is to have an approval conditioned on coming to an acceptable number of units and explaining to you why. You may find that our plans that show 41 units and you don't think that's good. So we'll go back to the drawing board and then until we get there. But we can condition it on an acceptable number of units in that range between 37, adding the 3, and 44, which is where the bump is. Perhaps that's one way. We can condition it on 4 and 2. We're not crazy about that, of course, but that's what you want. Can we live with it? We'll see. We'll work the economics out, you know, by the next meeting, but that's your condition. We obviously want to make it work. So you can condition that. You can condition the deed restricted nature of the, no, I shouldn't say deed restricted, I should say the use restricted nature of our private property, of our open space. We'll work with you to work on language with that. It won't take long. We could work with general counsel of the town and come up with some MOU, you know, that will stand the test. We can condition it on if you want to go the negative or you want to go to the positive. It's just going to make our lives a little more challenging. But let's find a way to, we're willing to give you, I think, everything you want. You know, bent a little bit to work for each other's, to use your term. So, but we would respectfully request that direction tonight. If you choose not to do it tonight, of course, we'll come back in 2 weeks. But we really would like to advance the ball, and we can't advance the ball until we know what we're building.
100%. And respectfully to you, I've really tried to advance the ball. But it's just a complicated project and it's a complicated site, and I've done everything in my power to either fish or cut bait. And I use that analogy over and over again because I don't want you coming back here you've got other things you could do on your Tuesday nights. And we have other things we could be doing on our Tuesday nights too.
And we appreciate it. But I think we're speaking the same language. You're saying you want to move forward with conditions. And we're saying we'll accept every one of those conditions. And I don't know the legalities about can you condition tonight or give us direction, and if we meet these conditions, then this is the direction you're giving us to make the special permit conditional. That's a question. Are the waivers conditioned, or are the waivers approved, and you're going to signal these are the conditions that must be in the special permit? Either one is acceptable to us. We just want to know that if we do X, Y, and Z, and we're willing to do everything you've asked, that we can move forward with the project.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you for another.
No, I appreciate it.
Where are we? We have a motion, we have no second, we have
We have
discussion.
motions, there was no second, so there was no motion.
Discussion,
The
like, where
the
are we?
motion died.
Motion
But
died.
that doesn't mean somebody can't make a new motion.
Can you vote to release the digital model?
Is that,
The public comment.
is that easy?
So around the table, I'm just going to talk around the table for a second. We
There are
voted.
5 members of this.
We
commission.
voted to accept a digital model in lieu of a physical model.
Which makes it public.
Public, and we also voted to, in that vote, implicit in that vote was setting up a time for members of the public to come and view it and to record the video of when we did that. If members of the board want to make a motion to, I guess,
Is it practical to just release it? I mean, it seems like.
it's not my model. I mean, I don't know how to, I don't know anything about,
We may.
Okay, I'll make that motion. It seems like a quick
I mean,
thing.
they would have to
Before you
agree to
do-
that. They would have to agree to that.
Before you do, last Wednesday, when we had this demonstration, we were talking afterwards, and Dylan and David, if I could ask Dylan to come up to the table, because he could explain it better than I, that it is possible to release this.
You have to ask the applicant.
Okay, can we just, well,
I'm not sure how to phrase the motion, because it's not exactly the same thing, but it allows the individual to see the project from many different angles, and I don't know how to describe it the way Dylan did.
So the question I have for you is, do you need to have more access to the model to make the decisions we have tonight?
I don't. It's being
I'm
requested.
asking, I hear it's being requested, I'm asking you if you needed to make your decision tonight.
No, I don't.
Okay. Do any members of the board need that access? I'm not saying we can't ask for the access, but what we have on our plate right now is these. We can, if you can't make your decision without more views than you've had access to, then that's important to me. But if you can,
I don't know, I kind of feel like, since we didn't have a physical model, and this is an easy lift from a software standpoint, we should just say, okay, and let people look at it.
That's if Brian's point is that is something that's appropriate if we're moving forward, but if the board does not need that information to make an approval or a denial of the waivers, then there's no reason to.
thank you for saying it more eloquently than I just said.
I mean, we are all on half a brain cell, but.
That if we move forward, if we get approved these waivers, I think that's a reasonable request to ask. And if we don't move ahead with these waivers, then we don't need to ask them to do anything.
Oh, that's fair.
Because
Yeah,
there's no reason to.
that's fair.
Because they would, in the discussion of the special permit, they would be helpful for the public to be able to see them and to make their comments more well-informed, if that's a good
Fair.
thing. That's poor grammar, but yes,
I-
more well-informed.
More well, I think I understood what you said. But again, for us to make the decision we have in hand right now, if we want to make a motion, and there was a motion but no second, so we're still.
I'm going to throw out the hope that if this doesn't go forward, it ends up back at the bank, and the bank has to make their adjustment, and we get the exact same group at a different height. And so I will boldly move to deny the proposed building height of 69 feet.
Yeah, I'll second it. I mean, the original loan was like 4.875 million, and then the original applicant asked for additional loans of like 5 million, but the property is really closer to 5 million. I mean, if we,
I'm not gonna wade into the finances, but I
right,
think
if
that's
we,
the
you know, if we
missing
don't go ahead
piece
with it
in this
anyway,
discussion.
I'll
We didn't get a second on a move to approve, so I'm testing it.
I'll
as a move
second,
to deny.
I'll second.
To be clear, I wouldn't move or second anything, but just wanted.
No, I know, I'm just,
Okay.
we're narrowing
I
it
can
down, so I'm
legally,
trying to
I
get in
just-
there.
There's no legal,
Tradition,
it's just tradition.
I second Kerry's motion.
Can I ask you the distinction between a vote to not approve versus simply not making a vote to approve? So,
We have good examples of not voting to approve.
so we
Taking no
just,
action
if
over it.
this motion passes, then we've just denied the waiver. If, however, his motion to approve had no second, so it also failed, we must approve the waiver. Failure to approve the waiver is denial, or do we have to vote on to approve or deny? Is, I guess,
Well, Jack's motion was to approve it without
Yeah.
specifying any
Without
conditions.
conditions.
Anyone
no
can-
second.
Right, anyone could say, I want to vote to approve with the specification that the developer make good progress in meeting the recommendations laid out in Brian's memo, for example.
Yeah, that'd be, that would work.
But the motion that we have on the table right now, made by Carrie, which was a denial, that if that denial was voted on, that would say that this building cannot be this tall.
okay, thank you. Any discussion on this motion? I'm gonna say I hate the idea of shutting this down because I think we could be close to something that would be really good for Winchester. The problem is I don't think we're there yet, and so I don't want to vote no because I don't think we're there yet. I want to give them an opportunity to get there. I'm agonizing on this.
I think we'll have an opportunity if we go forward without this particular project. And we'll have a better outcome. We have a lot of room to do better.
This, voting to deny the waiver, I talk a lot about we shouldn't look ahead, and I'm not gonna look ahead other than to say that we have no expectation that this developer and this architect will want anything to do with us again. I wouldn't. I'm not even gonna look at them because I don't want to see if they're nodding or not. I mean, they spend a lot of time here, and we don't have to say yes. We have the right to say no, but I would go cut bait.
So the motion is to deny it, so a yes vote would deny it and a no vote would not deny it.
Yeah.
The double negative there.
So anybody want to discuss any further?
Nope.
I'm going to ask if when you cast your vote, if you're capable, give me some rationale for why you're doing it. You're not required to. I can't make you do that, but if you feel it would be better for the record, I think that would be helpful. Nick?
I'm going to vote yes to Kerry's motion because I believe that it's too tall. I think the value of the land is closer to 5 million. I think we'll have a better outcome. I think we have a lot we can do with it, and I think that we'll have a design that's as good or better than what we have. And I think it's got a lot of and the town has a lot of options, I think, still. So, but I'm voting to support yes to Kerry's motion.
Thank you.
No.
The height for me is an extraction from the town that we can't get back, and that sixth floor would provide 3 units. And I think in the absence of letter explanation from the bylaw, we go back to the spirit of the bylaw. And I think the spirit of the CBD bylaw is to keep growth in the CBD moving forward. And I think that could be done at a 48-foot or a shorter building, a 4 or 5-story building that would gently encourage growth across the height of the CBD without setting a precedent that will never be matched and creating a monolith in the middle. I'm not satisfied based on the conversation that happened this evening that the addition to the inventory does not have opportunities across town recently made available. That has to be executed on this parcel. There are things about this project that I like. I think every yes or no comes with qualifications, and there are lots of things about this project that I think would be great, but ultimately, I can't get to good with the height.
So just to be clear, that was a yes.
I am yes to the no.
Okay.
I vote no. The primary consideration for me is, I think you said it well, Brian, was that we've come a long ways with this applicant, and I don't want to walk away at this point. We've invested a lot of energy and thought into this, as has the applicant, and this just basically throws that away, and I'm not ready to do that. I think that we're pretty close. I think the applicant has demonstrated a good faith desire to work with us on this and to give us what we need, so I vote no on this motion.
Thank you. I also vote no. I think that we are close, and if we can get there, I think voting no now just says we're done, and I think we're so close to something that could be successful for us and for them. Again, I asked several things, and I'm not satisfied with the answers, but that doesn't mean that I want to throw out the baby too. So I'd like to, so I have to vote no. So that would be a 3-2 or 2-3, so the motion does not pass. Any other motions that people would like to make?
Wait, let's clarify the FAR question for a second. So we've approved 69 feet of height.
We have not.
Well, we have not approved.
Not approved.
You see what I'm saying? We have
That's
not
why I was
not
asking what the impact of voting, not just going with a vote for and then voting against.
Right. So the FA, let's call it an approval just for brevity. So like, let's say we're allowing, let's just say conditions are met, 69 feet is allowed, and we approve the FAR, can the size of the third story expand? Just somebody do that mental math for me. No, the FAR is calculated on the exact.
2.77, that's the waiver, they can't go above it.
And the
Okay.
building, despite how you might reapportion the space inside, it would have to look like that building.
Okay, so that it doesn't
Absolutely
change
true.
the contour of the,
Moving
okay.
bedrooms around is a challenge with windows, but that's the challenge.
Okay,
The windows, it's got to look like that building.
yeah,
You
okay.
know, we can't.
I'm sorry, I just couldn't get my head around it this hour.
Clarification, if we voted not to deny this, we are not approving it.
We have not yet.
We need another motion to approve.
We need a motion to approve the waiver.
Well, I will reintroduce my motion to approve the proposed building height of 69 feet, where 40 feet is allowed by right and 59 feet by the open space special permit, and no limit under the PUD special permit.
Do you want to add conditions?
I'm not sure how to phrase it. Conditioned on what?
Satisfactory.
Negotiations?
Negotiation with the board of the issues that have been raised.
Of the issues that have been raised. Keep going.
Somebody's
The
typing,
two
nobody's
issues
typing,
being
why aren't we typing?
affordable units and the open space at right side.
Yeah, we don't want to specify,
Excuse me?
we don't want to necessarily specify.
No.
I mean, but it's not my motion, I'm just,
So did I get that right? I was just puppeting back what you said.
I don't remember exactly what you
All
said.
right, the motion.
Withdraw that motion and make a new motion.
No, conditioned on continuing negotiations with the applicant on the issues raised tonight. Is that sufficient?
I believe so.
Yes?
Is that, I believe that motion's
It's pretty
satisfied.
vague, a lot of issues were raised.
It's a little loose, but you can make it.
Can I get a second? Guess not.
There was no second.
Oh, I'll second.
Oh. Okay.
I mean, if we vote no on this, we're not killing the deal though, right?
No on this is saying you don't approve the waiver. It's equivalent to voting yes on, wait,
Voting no on this, you're basically in a stalemate.
Right, but we're not killing it, it's not as bad.
that's true, but we're not approving a waiver.
And we're not
Right,
denying it
you're
either.
not approving, you're just back at the, you're back at
Right,
where
but
we
we're
started.
not, we're not killing the project either.
Yeah, well,
So I like that motion. I like the second. I'm just gonna, I like a motion with the second. I would like satisfactory resolution of to this board of the 6 things I raised, and I don't know if there's other things, in the memo, and that we get satisfactory resolution, which, I realize is vague, but that's gonna be by a vote of this board that they've been satisfactorily resolved
Down
for
the
the
road,
special
yes,
permit.
yes.
Prior to the voting of the special permit, that we agree on all those.
I presume this is a discussion of my motion, which.
Yes, this
which
is a discussion of your motion.
What we are trying to do is to give the applicant the confidence that he can move forward with the due diligence of his housing plan to show us how it's gonna be laid out, which ones are going, he thinks can, of course, that's still to be negotiated, but which ones he thinks it should be, the affordable units and the work, et cetera, all
Yeah.
that. That's what we want, that's what I wanna see before I.
Approve a
vote-
special permit.
Before I approve a special permit. But
Layout of the
what he
open
said
space.
tonight is he can't do that until he has the confidence of this planning board that we grant him these 2 waivers.
These
And
are
I
good
think-
heads ups, though. We'll want to see materials, we'll want to
Yes,
see
exactly.
windows, layout of the open space, and I
Yep.
don't want to close the door on the cell tower discussion.
And,
On the what discussion?
Cell tower discussion.
Okay.
and I think,
Yeah, but
If I'm putting it
even
on-
if we see all that stuff, I mean, once the thing starts getting built, I mean, we're not guaranteed.
Well, this is
that-
setting up the site, the special permit negotiations. They're trying to make sure they're giving a heads up about everything that's going to
Once they break the ground, as Taylor told me, he's gonna spend more time on that site than he is in his office.
I mean, once we vote this, I'm not sure how much confidence they're gonna have, because it's somewhat a divided board. I mean, it's clearly, and I'm agonizing with every.
Divided over different points. This
Yes,
is-
divided over different points, but divided, but hopefully it gives them, directions. So we have,
What democracy is all about.
we have a motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion they want on that motion?
I don't know, I just don't think we should approve it with the height and with the.
Okay. I respect that, and I'm not. So may I start at the other side of the table?
I'm a no on the yes.
You're a no on the yes. Jack?
I'm a yes.
No.
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. So that's 3-2 in favor of the waiver, with the understanding that those, that conditions need to be mutually agreed upon prior to approval of special permit. Is there interest in making a motion on the FAR along the same exact lines, if you're so inclined?
I couldn't repeat that.
It's right in front of me, you got it. You got Taylor's email.
No, because you just condition the.
I'll
like
try it
the-
again. I make a motion to approve the proposed FAR of 2.77, where 1.5 by right, up to 2.5 with special permit, and up to 3 with PUD special permit relief, conditioned on continuing negotiations with the applicant on the issues raised this evening.
Is there a second on that?
Second.
Is there discussion on that?
I think the FAR is a little unique because I think the FAR that was set out in the initial bylaw did not contemplate the Wetlands Protection Act. So I will just make that comment. I think that
You're right, that's true.
I am voting differently. I'm voting the same way, but I am voting for different reasons on this. And so I will spare you the time of calling on me and say that because I think the FAR was set without contemplation of the Wetlands Protection Act, I am a no on the yes.
Okay. So, but we're still in discussion, but at discussion and a vote.
Saving it.
I agree that the FAR was envisioned with somebody using the entire lot. And since they can't use the entire lot, it's a plus and a minus. The plus for them is they can get a higher FAR not a higher FAR, our FAR over a smaller area. The plus for the town is that we can get access to land that otherwise would have been built on if there were no Wetlands Protection Act. So it goes both ways. So that was a no.
Correct.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
I vote yes as well, so that passes 3-2. Taylor, where does that leave us right now?
Well, so you have approved waivers. Hopefully that gives the applicant an idea of a continued willingness of the board to move forward with a special permit. To be clear, the special permit has not been approved. There's still more to do, both on the planning board level and the staff level. The applicant is, or the board is, it's recommended the board to continue the public hearing to the next meeting on the
Second.
second.
Not the first, the second.
Sounded like a second
It
to a
was-
motion.
It was wrong on the agenda.
Okay. And we can continue the discussion on the special permit at that time.
So you need a motion to continue the
So
hearing?
before you do that, I'd
Go
like
ahead.
to, one of the things I want to make sure we do is I don't want to rush the drafting of the special permit. We want to make sure we get council review.
Yes.
Because a lot of these things, they may be 2 out of 10 to them, but they're 9 out of 10 to us or 10 out of 10 to us. So I want to make sure that I'd like to have a full public hearing, just this board, discussing whatever draft of the special permit when that time comes, so that we can make sure everything is just the way we want it. I don't want the first time we look at the special permit together be the night that we also vote it. That's my opinion.
Question, maybe Taylor knows the answer. Can we should be meeting with town council on this to start with, but is this a meeting that you would have with town council and perhaps Brian to sort of work this out and then bring it to the full board? Or is that something we would do as a full board?
What specifics
So
are you
work
considering?
out these 8 or 9 or 10 conditions, whatever we
There'll
come
be
up with.
many more than that, too.
Or maybe more,
there-
that we want, it, or do we need a full board meeting in public hearing to discuss that?
Well, you want to definitely discuss all the conditions in general. You'll
Right.
have your own conditions, staff will have our own conditions. You want to know those well in advance of you making your decision. Town council does help in the creation of that document. But most of the special permit comes from the planning department's report and then leads into planning board discussion. And we haven't even started our report, so.
Right, I just don't want to spring it on the applicant. I don't want any surprises for the applicant if he shows up for a public hearing on December 2nd. He said, I didn't remember that. What's that all about? I want the applicant to be aware of these as early as possible.
Yes, that
And
is
we
always our intention
We
of
do want to keep this project moving forward. I don't want to drag it into 2026 if at all possible, but.
It might.
It might.
It's the
It
holidays.
could. What?
If there's details
Yeah, I
on the
know, I
units by
understand.
December 2nd.
I understand.
So I would take a motion to continue the public hearing
Wait.
on. Oh,
I think we should take a vote to make the model available to the public, because if the project's moving forward, we need a lot more PR on this.
so let's think about how to do that. I agree. I think it should be a motion to require public
access.
public
And if
access.
public access to the digital model is not possible, we need a physical model that we can put in town hall.
That's a good way of putting it.
I second it.
So say what that motion was again?
I
Physical model,
move to
just-
request public access to the digital model, and if the digital model is not able to be made accessible to the public, that a physical model be produced and made available at the public's leisure in town hall.
I second that.
Motion in a second. I agree with so much of that motion.
I mean, I think the digital model is probably
think it's-
possible.
I
There's
think-
got to be some way.
They're just gonna do it. I'm unwilling to require a physical model when they have the digital model, but
Did the waiver,
yeah,
you know? And we,
No, but I think it's
it's the release.
I think it's either or is what it comes down to.
right, yeah.
And I think they can do it. They said they
Yeah.
could do it.
I don't think, yeah.
Let's not guess what they can do. Let's just assume one or the other. They priced it out. They know they could do if they had to.
Okay, it's a motion.
Aye.
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 I'm a no. I can't have the physical model added on to that motion. I would have been fine with just the release of it, but I think physical model is a bridge too far for me.
I think you're doing great getting to being comfortable disagreeing with your board.
You should hear me at town meeting when I'm the only no.
I will now move to adjourn the public hearing.
Continue.
Continue the public hearing. Damn.
To December 2nd.
December 2nd.
What did I say?
You know, I was agreeing with you.
Oh, December 2nd. I thought it. Did we get a
I have
second?
several hands raised,
Did we
and
get
I
a
want.
second to that
Did I
motion?
hear the question?
We
I
have
put
a
this-
motion on the table.
have a
Finish the
motion.
motion, then you can.
We can't, because we can't, if we take a question out of public hearing.
I mean, I wouldn't, but it's up to you.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I haven't heard it yet.
Second.
Okay,
To continue, right?
to continue the hearing to the December 2nd.
So I agree, we have to take the motion, we can have discussion on the motion.
I would have liked to have heard the question, though.
But we had questions from several people, we had questions from the applicant too, and I didn't recognize them either, because it was out of order, but, and if somebody wants to withdraw that and hear from the two, that both the applicant and the person, I will accept that, but it is 9:30, but if you want to withdraw that motion, we can hear from the two people who want to speak.
No, I'm not going to withdraw it.
Okay.
Aye.
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 Chair votes aye. The public hearing is continued. Thank you. We can, I would ask anybody who has anything that they want to write to us. I'd ask the applicant to speak to the town planner or myself if they have questions. We will now continue with the business portion of our agenda, which is late, but we have some important things we need to deal with. So thank you all. Thank you.
I'm 188. Do you bike with your wife?
Yes, that's us all the
Yeah, you're
time,
like
yeah.
diagonal, yeah, so we're the Drummond's old place.
Okay.
Yeah, Carrie.
We're going to talk about the budget?
Yeah. WinCam, we're going to take a 5-minute recess.
I know, I don't know you without the bike helmet. The other PUD section is part of Main Street. That became 3A.
Yes,
Yep.
thinking about the map, yeah.
Yep.
Thank you. We are back in session.
Back in
We're going to jump past the budget discussion, jump past the design review committee appointment, jump past the lodging tax, and look for board updates, if there's board updates that people have that they'd like to give tonight.
It's fair to say I do have an update. Go ahead.
We jumped
Go for
ahead
it.
to board
Yours are probably
updates, and then we're
easier.
going to go back to budget.
Real quickly, the 13th of November, I had an ad hoc committee meeting with Stephanie Menardi for the school committee, Travis Ayani for the select board, Emily Dowling and Michelle McCarthy for the historical commission, and Bill Swanton on behalf of the Historical Society to discuss what's possible with the carriage house. Paris made it very clear that there's no money, there's no town money for doing anything. He said, we've got $40 million of commitments for maintenance of buildings that are occupied and used, and this is a building that's not even occupied and being used, so forget it, basically, is his message. So we discussed the possibility of the school committee accessing the property to the town, and then the town using it for sale or rent the land to a developer, and which would include isolating the property from Ambrose School and rezoning the land for multifamily housing or whatever appropriate zoning was necessary. The school, tomorrow night, Stephanie said she will get the sense of the school committee whether they would support A, accessing the carriage house to the town, and B, whether they would support a residential project there, provided it was isolated. What my role tonight is, I need to find out, we don't need to take a vote, but we just need to know whether the planning board would be open to the notion of rezoning this property. It's currently zoned, I'm not sure what it's zoned now, you told me.
Probably SCI.
Well, I don't know if we can
Yes,
commit
it
to
is, that's
rezoning
the
it,
because
but we
it's
could
school, that's
explore
right.
it.
So would the planning board be open to rezoning this should the opportunity present itself?
I would just echo what Kerry said, that absolutely we'd explore it. I mean, probably can't come to a decision today, but.
No, but I mean, it's just something that
I mean, all the efforts that you're putting in, I think it's great. Yeah.
I'd like to save the building if it's at all
Right,
possible.
right.
And if the only way to save it is to sell it to a developer, that's only gonna work if we rezone it.
Right, yeah, no,
Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, that's
nobody
all I
would be
had.
mad at you if you bring that to us.
That's all I had.
Okay. Any other,
So for the state of the town has now 3 times given the floor to an idea of, this is the DPW site, so if you cross Lake Street and you go down you go down Linden, there's the DPW site, and if you're on the bike path, you know, the Horn Pond Brook bike path, there's this funky bridge, and then you go to the other part of the DPW site. State of the town has now given the floor 3 times to the idea that this part that's over the funky bridge be turned into a 40B, like be turned into high-density housing. And it is, in those meetings, it kind of gets punted to the planning board keeps having to weigh in on it. And if you look, if you can sort of picture in your head, this is like, I don't know, I'm gonna get which building is which wrong, but this is like Bagels and Brew, like the karate place, like that. So it's basically like down to this place that is on the water, connected to Linden Street, which is a short, narrow street by a bridge. And so I don't know what the exit strategy is, but the parcel redevelopment is interesting because it's a nice spot to put, I guess, I don't think I see a lot of issues with it, but I think it has come up often enough that I think it would be helpful for us to either offer some guidance into the steps that they would take. It was floated that the planning board would hire a consultant to do a feasibility study on this. And this is what I'm saying. I think, exactly. Like, so I just need to find a constructive way to redirect the effort on Lake Street from the planning board, because it kind of is, it keeps coming up. I've raised all the concerns. It's on a waterway.
it's in the
There's no exit
floodplain, I
strategy.
presume?
I think there's a street that connects, but I think it's so from the perspective of the Wetlands Protection Act, it is a DPW site. So I think it's all paved.
Being used too.
No, but I
It's
meant as
being,
far as the
so
floodplain,
yes,
as
no
far
one
as
has talked to the
building
DPW and no one has talked to any of the adjoining neighborhoods.
I don't think the DPW want to give it up. They keep their salt back there and their auxiliary trucks and everything.
I think the select board feels like maybe their jurisdiction.
There was this, Brian, you remember a town meeting a couple of years ago, there was a chunk of that land on the, like the north corner that the town wanted to sell to a developer who owned the adjacent land.
yeah.
And that went down to defeat, and I don't remember the details. Do you remember that?
No, I don't, but I did.
That's where I thought you were going with this.
Nope, a whole hundred,
A whole
unit building.
Jeez.
It's a 40B, it wouldn't.
It's not, I know, there's
It wouldn't be
no,
under our purview
Anyway.
anyway.
I guess I wanted to make it aware
We
of
wouldn't have
the
to
fact
rezone it
that,
for 40B,
We wouldn't.
no.
right.
So it's totally not under our purview.
So, so I guess I'm bringing it to, on your radar in case anybody mentions it to you, and then asking for permission to maybe, with either Brian or Taylor, send a short note redirecting their effort. I think the select board would be I don't know who would do the study on the feasibility, because the road would be the select board.
It depends entirely on what the plan is. I mean, it's either the select board or the ZBA. As currently proposed and as discussed, the planning board doesn't have any jurisdiction over the decision of this property unless it was rezoning. And even then, you're just talking about the rezoning. You're not talking about what's being developed on it. So I do not see this as a planning board responsibility.
Okay, so we just abdicate. Do we agree we just abdicate? Okay, that's fine. Great, thank you. That's that update. Other than that,
Any other committee updates? I want to give a quick update that I don't actually have any answers on, but, because I was approached by the select board chair yesterday, something that it might come back to us, that Cafe Ducali
yes.
wants to expand their hours beyond what's allowed in their special permit that was granted by the ZBA, but now it's in the Main Street Mixed Use District, and that use is allowed by right. There's some confusion. Their select board is reaching out to town attorney to get some clarity on whether the special permit still prevails or whether the new zoning prevails. It's not clear. There have been a lot of emails about this.
We had a whole conversation with Jay over how to make it clear what would prevail if there was a temporal
Yeah,
discord.
we're not going to go there tonight. I wanted to give you a heads up so that when this comes to you, there was some confusion. There will be more clarity, but when this comes to you, I didn't want you to say, I have no idea. I didn't know this was even like on the radar.
Does he have an opening target date?
I don't know if I knew we controlled the hours of business operations.
There is some discussion that the existing ZBA special permit still controls the hours of operation because it was a special permit, even though it's no longer under ZBA special permit granting authority, because that was, I'm giving you a heads up.
Okay,
I have
so
30
we may have to take action on it.
I have 30
if it needs to be.
questions, and I've answered none of that. None of them have been answered, but I just want you to know, I mean, I think I know the answer, but I'm not a lawyer. So I just wanted to give you that heads up. So that is board
It's
updates.
shocking to me that we control business
Are they
hours.
talking about opening?
Yeah.
No.
They're going to open in this, so I spoke with the owner today. I was talking about opening in the spring. It's unclear.
He was saying the fall before, but now I guess
It just takes a while.
it's almost over.
Everything takes a while. But if you watched the select board meeting last night, you can get a lot of clarity. A lot of disclarity. You can get clarity on what the questions are, but not what the answers of those questions are. So I just wanted to bring that up. Staff updates, and then we'll go to that. Any?
I'm not sure I have any other updates.
Okay.
Anybody?
Anything?
Yeah, it's late.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's jump back to
Budget.
FY '27 budget, which is up there, and can I tee it over to you for?
Yeah, sure. Small, I know, but small as in size there on the screen. Actually,
I've got it right
small
here.
as in our
What
budget
is small
too.
budget too?
Historical Commission.
This is
That's fair.
my I am recommending this budget to you with a relatively modest increase to professional services. You can discuss if that's realistic or not, but
That would be outside consultants, right?
correct.
Like, looking
This is-
into,
Question, is this sufficient, because we're gonna start working on the, master plan again, right? Is this gonna cover that?
Well, so there's two projects which we've prioritized over the next few years, which is the recodification of the bylaws and the master plan.
Uh-huh.
Should those be capital planning requests? Should they be in our budget? That's for you to decide, but if we want to start that next year, which we probably should, that request will have to be likely substantially higher. Although you could say, we're gonna do it over the course of 2 years.
How soon do we have to have the master plan completed?
You don't have to
Last
have
one
it done.
lasts by
So,
like 50
so
years.
for insurance and less insurance, more for grant purposes, some insurance purposes, they ask to have a updated plan. Our plan says 2030 on the cover. Does that mean it ends in 2030, or is it just a continuation? I don't know, there's some discussion there, but
are there rules on,
there's,
they need it
I
updated?
am not aware of any very strict rules of the requirement of having a master plan and what it is. But we get asked all the time when we submit grants or we do insurance, saying, oh, can we see your master plan?
Grants from the state generally.
Yeah.
So the state, in other words, wants us to have it, but they want us to pay for it.
Yeah, it's a town document, yeah.
Yeah, we don't want the state controlling it, because we don't want them influencing the agenda.
Well, but there's no
They should
matching
give
grants
some
from the
set-
state
yeah, they
to
should
help
give,
pay
like-
for
Well, I
this.
mean, we'll certainly apply for technical assistance for some of the work, but if it's a $100,000 document, you know, we might get 25.
That's help. That's a help.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
You've got at least 3 votes in town meeting for it.
But as we have discussed before, that the recodification of the bylaws is should be prioritized over, in timing, should be prioritized to be done before we start work on the master plan in order to, you know, influence our work on the master plan. So that's just kind of an idea of where we are on those two plans moving forward, but, you know, our budget for next year, it's really just that in my mind, it's really just the professional services line item and how much we want to spend there.
Mhm.
The rest of it can
Oh, yeah, we can do
move
it.
around pretty freely,
Yeah.
and it's not.
That was, sorry.
No, go ahead.
That was my question when I first saw this was, I sort of put on my FinCom hat, which I had for many years, and said it's going from 45 to 50. And if there's a justification for that, because that's what,
It's almost a 10%.
10% increase.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying if there was like, we need that 10%, I just see that's gonna be stand out. Nothing else on this stands out. If I'm a FinCom rep and I'm looking at this budget, I'm like, yeah, that's great. And what I did is I went down the line, and I was like, oh, this went up 10%. Why is that going up 10%? And I like to get our budgets through smoothly. So the question I had was something simple like, should it be 46 or 47? Unless there's like, we know we need this, this, and this. And I'm not trying to sell us short. I'm actually trying to get it at 46 or 47 instead of saying, oh, you only spent 40 last year, so actually it should be 40. So,
And just to give some context about the process for those who haven't done it yet, so this is just showing you my early suggestion. What then happens is I write a report, which I don't know who's gonna read it.
I always read it.
Well, yes, but it gets reviewed by the town manager, I'm assuming.
FinCom as well.
Yeah, so I go line item by line item explaining why we're requesting that much. So some of the ones like office supplies, it's easy, it's like, well, we spent $1,000 in office supplies, so that's why we're asking for $1,000. But if we get down to the professional service, oh yeah, advertising has gone up, anyway. Professional services, we need to be very clear of, this is how much we're asking, because this is how much this costs.
Yes. So do you need a motion from us to?
No, this is, I will need a motion from you to approve the budget, but this is not the budget yet. What I need is your direction of, do these numbers look good? If not, give me some feedback as to how to change them, because you need to approve the whole packet,
Okay.
not just
Okay.
these numbers.
No other tuition asks for our fine staff members?
2,000 for.
It's sufficient,
Okay,
and we will use it this year
okay.
and next year.
If there are no objections by anyone, which I see none, then it sounds like you have consensus to.
Although I will need to have a little bit more of saying, what should I write for the
Oh, I thought you-
$5,000 additional?
Oh, I thought you were looking
We'll
for
be trying
not
to
a
get our
vote.
homework done
Yeah, I'm
before
not
we
looking
make the
for a vote.
requisition for the master plan.
Yeah, I'm not looking for a vote, but if you want $50,000 for the professional services, am I gonna go, in my description of that, is it because of the recodification, is it because of master plan? Why the extra $5,000?
Yeah, okay.
Both?
Yeah. I mean, both of those, the things on the runway, we may need to use them to get them kicked off. It might not be enough. It might be a request for capital, something in the capital cycle, but you might need enough to get some consultants in to sort of get us going.
Yep. Okay.
I think that seems like a reasonable path forward for that. The others agree? Okay. Okay.
Great.
Thank you for doing this. Appreciate it. The next order of business, we have a design review committee appointment. This is,
Sorry. This is a notification that you have a design review.
oh, it's not the,
It's not the actual appointment. We'll be taking the appointment on the 2nd.
okay.
And which position is that?
It is, so it's Julie's,
Okay.
Ryan Schneider's, for the January 1st, 2026, to December 31st, 2028. It's a typo.
Okay.
I haven't heard back from Julie. If anyone knows
It's a
her
two-year
and-
term, okay.
and ask,
Is
and
she,
you
is
want to ask
she
her,
stepping down?
I don't know. I haven't heard back
Or
from her.
she, okay.
So,
And the appointment is effective January 1st?
correct.
Okay.
Yep. So we have received no
Did
interest.
you reach out to her and she hasn't replied? I
Yep,
see.
Yep,
Okay.
and it's been, we published it in the newspaper, and it's been posted on the website and then posted on town hall. It's posted appropriately, so.
And the
And-
posting is over? The posting is expired now?
It goes until the 29th, I think.
Okay.
Or the 30th. I think
Okay.
it goes till the end of the month.
We have, how many appointments to that? committee?
There's 7 members. I think the planning board appoints 3 or 4.
That was 3.
I'll look
3.
it up. Do we know who our members are?
We do, but I don't recall them offhand. The members are supposed to have professional qualifications in specific fields, but we haven't received interested applicants with any qualifications in years. So we haven't.
So the current applicants don't necessarily, they just have to have an interest in a.
Yeah, that's the way it's currently set up, is that they are not meeting the requirements written in the bylaw. They're just the only people who are interested in serving.
There's 2 appointed by the select board, 2 by town moderator, and 3 by us.
So my only request when this comes to us to actually vote is if the applicants aren't in person, having either a letter from them or a resume from them or something so that we can actually look at their
It is
qualifications.
a requirement of the application.
I've
but-
just seen in a lot of other applications,
Yep.
they don't actually do that, and it's hard to vote that, so.
Julie's, is she a landscape designer?
I
forget.
believe that's correct, yeah.
That's what she does, yeah.
Oh, good. So I thought we were voting this night, so, 10 o'clock, let's, the next, item on the agenda is discussion of lodging tax in Winchester. Is this something that you want to talk about tonight? And I'm happy to.
Let's briefly tee it up, just because it could require action and our wheels can be
Yeah, I had a lot of questions, so let's just tee it up.
So it came up over the course of the state of the town as they're looking for under-leveraged revenue streams in town, that there are a number of short-term rentals that are operating within Winchester that are not being taxed as short-term rentals, which I believe would be a tax rate of 6%. You asked how it's calculated. I'm not sure how it's calculated. Probably on the total of the visit based on my extensive Airbnb usage. And that revenue gets collected by the state and redistributed locally like the meal tax. And so we're under leveraging this. There's a registry that these properties have to go through. And so per the state of the town folks, it would be one sheet of paper that we would submit, and then we would start getting tax revenue. I'm not sure that that's the correct administrative burden. The reason that we're thinking about it is because we specifically prohibit use of short-term rentals for ADUs, and other than that, we really don't mention them in the bylaws very clearly. And so I personally feel like we should either decide to not address them, or we should address them and bring a bylaw change to Springtown meeting in one direction or another. If we choose to make a bylaw change, the select board would wait to enact the tax until fall town meeting to let us get our bylaw updated. If we do nothing in the spring, they will bring the tax to Springtown meeting.
So the bylaw change was simply.
We would just define it.
Yeah, it's happening, but we just need to.
Yeah, for ADUs, we restrict them under 30 days.
Right.
So I don't know if we're all up for a big discussion about the implications of it. I just wanted to tee it up, because if we do want to bring a bylaw change anyway, we should be.
I think it's gonna stir up a big discussion at town meeting,
But I think,
and we'll be the brunt of it.
So,
I mean, as we're seeing, there's sort of like there's a pro, I mean, I think the town is at that minute where it's sort of like there's a population that's probably,
so there,
like, I use them plenty. I don't
Well, I do
rent my
too.
house out.
Well, I know,
Like,
I
they're
know,
a
I
very
know.
real part of the market.
There's
And
probably a lot of empty nesters out there who've got rooms to spare that they'd like to make a little money on their house.
yeah, and so the town could just continue to ignore it, or we could say,
Yeah,
this
thank
is
you.
credentialed,
That's
we've
one way
named
of-
it, we won't.
As I said in my note to you, I
Yeah,
I
your
didn't know we
kids do a
had-
lot of stuff you don't know
I
about,
thought-
but
I thought it was
sometimes at
illegal.
some point you make a rule. So is it time for us to make a rule?
I thought we were collecting the tax. It wouldn't have occurred to me that someone was selling this.
Yeah, I don't know if the tax goes to Massachusetts. I don't know what happens, because Airbnb owners must collect a state tax, or they're committing tax evasion. So,
Oh.
but if
Well,
there's no local.
Airbnb does it for you.
Yeah, I mean.
But that's what I'm saying, that money's going somewhere. It's getting collected because
I
they have
would've
to per state
thought
law.
Just like, Amazon, they're resellers, but they collect the tax that's
Yeah.
due in your jurisdiction. And
So does
the seller
Winchester.
doesn't get it, they send it over to the state.
Yeah, this,
I always
so
assumed they didn't.
seems like an opportunity to close yet another hole in our bylaws.
Do you have any idea how many Airbnbs are in Winchester?
The list that they circulated was maybe like 20.
Yeah, like 20, I was shocked.
Yeah.
I'm generally opposed to Airbnbs in Winchester because I think they impact, spending a lot of time talking about not having enough housing in Winchester, talking about affordability of Winchester, and we're seeing in big cities like Paris, we are not Paris, where there isn't, or Florence, there's no housing for residents because they're all Airbnb'd. So I'm generally opposed to Airbnbs. I'd like to see it restricted. I don't see how we can attack something that's restricted.
I think the
like I've
best-
said to you one-on-one, we can't tax opium dens in Winchester.
Right.
I mean, like we just can't do that because they're not allowed.
No.
So I'm happy to have it at Springtown meeting. I'm happy a future chair will be standing up and having to discuss this.
No, well, this is why, so again, I will be the person that will keep bringing this up. Remember the timing. So we go through elections, and then we elect our chair, and the warrant has been submitted. So I will advocate year after year that we either shoulder tap or hold a low-key election for the new chair at the turn of the year, so that that person has time to queue up Springtown meeting, and then we do a confirming vote. Taylor's going to be apoplectic about this suggestion because he will be juggling multiple chairs. And then for the second time this week, I will say, bless his heart. But in terms of the functionality of the board, it is really hard to take over chair a couple of weeks before Springtown meeting.
Yes, it is.
Air 5.
So I'm all for that, much like I'm all for adding, although not on the discussion, adding, changing our bylaws to have an associate member who could step in if somebody had to tag out because they happen to own a property that we were developing, and so that we'd have 5 members on the board for all discussions. So that's another thing, but that's not on here. And is that all you needed to say about that?
I just wanted to get us thinking, so yes.
We have 2 sets of minutes that have been reviewed. There's been back and forths with, I would welcome a motion for one or both simultaneously of the sets of minutes.
I move that we approve both sets of minutes as amended.
I will second that motion.
All in favor? Aye. Anything else?
Just that as I noted earlier, the agenda today says our next meeting is December 1st. It is not.
I fixed it.
Okay. Well, what I had in my package is all.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So it's after
Thank
10.
you, WinCam. Thank you very much.
WinCam.
It's after